One set already done, and now we are going into set number 2. Going to be an interesting one. We have the Atlantis Leviathans versus the Eldritch Hounds, and that's something that we need to talk about. The fact that both of these teams have looked good at times. They're looking real solid, but have to try and continue those wins. Very big when you look at the schedule, see what we've already done through this week. Camelot Kings 3-0 the Glads, and the Styx Ferrymen 3-1 the Eldritch Hounds, coming off a loss, right? That's not the best situation. We need the Hounds to sort of jump back from that. Saturday, obviously the Jade Dragons and the Styx Ferrymen coming out with their wins, and we just witnessed 3-0 from the Highland Ravens up against the Gilded Gladiators. Very quick set to start our day. It's only 2 o'clock at this point, and we're already starting set number 2. This goes to show, I expect this one has the ability to go a little bit quicker as we jump into the standings. Atlantis Leviathans fall down to that second seed below the Styx Ferrymen. The Eldritch Hounds is an Ore Division matchup. So if you want to have the ability to try and climb ahead of the Jade Dragons, this would be a massive one to try and win.
And you're trying to get to that top 6. You want to make that top 3 of those 4 teams. This is a game you need to win. Not necessarily the win against the Levi's, but you just need to get your win column up so you can chase down the Dragons. You are 2 games behind them, but you still have this 1 game extra to be played. If you win this one, only 1 game back. It's very doable. If you lose this one, 2 games back. You have to go +2 over the Dragons with only 3 games to go, which is not impossible, but it is very hard. And as you said, both teams coming off of losses. They're trying to be revitalized, refreshed going into this. This is going to be a game where I think we've seen a lot of mage solos. I think mage solos are going to kind of dictate this entire game, dictate the P's and B's. And it kind of comes down to who's going to be able to play these mage solos better.
Right, and specifically we're talking about, the Hounds chasing, but the Leviathans are certainly still chasing, right? They don't want second seed. They want to jump up with that first seed. So a win here against the lowest seeded team in your division, it's not even something they want, it's something they need, right? This is a matchup the Leviathans absolutely have to win. So, their opponent, the Eldritch Hounds. Like I said, consistency has been an issue. They went through a bit of roster changes. They have Stuart now in the duo lane. And the topic of conversation from Stu has been the fact that the Eldritch Hounds as a team, they did play through duo a bit when Vapor's Coast was on this roster. They did sort of let him facilitate how they wanted to dictate their early game. Now that that's gone, Stu has not really been a player that likes to get aggressive. He's more so, leave me alone. I'm going to sit in duo lane. At level 20, I'll come out and I'll pop off. But if I'm behind, that opportunity sort of lacks. So do you want to see more from Stuart? Do you want to see him get out of his comfort zone? Or do you think it's okay to try and just play through BennyQ and Oathhh and sort of let Stu be on his own?
I think either way is fine. I think they just kind of have to get, as you said, more consistency. Consistency is the biggest problem with these lower end teams.
For sure.
And if the Hounds are going to be able to, reach the Jade Dragons, or maybe even there is small possibility of them reaching the Leviathans.
This would be the start.
This would be the start right here.
Yeah.
It's not likely, but it is possible. But if you are going to be starting, you need to start getting that consistency up. And it starts with this man right here, Oathhh. When Oathhh looks good, this team looks good. That week where Coast left, they picked up Stu. It wasn't Stu in the duo lane that didn't look great. It was Oathhh in the jungle that really did not play very well. Last week against the Styx Ferrymen, or sorry, this week against the Styx Ferrymen, it was a much better game by Oathhh, much better by the Hounds as a whole, and they're starting to look like a team. There's some cohesion issues. Obviously, it's still only their second set together, but it's already starting to look better.
And that's something that we have to highlight as well. The fact that I think God pools have come into question. A lot of the junglers that are in the meta right now that are very highly contested, that everyone is going towards, is these junglers that have the ability to build some tank stats, right? That can go into that sort of build. That's not Oathh's play style. He doesn't like building 1 or 2 defense items. He likes hard carrying on Bakasura. He likes getting one-shot potential with Alquam. These are the builds that he goes to. And since that's not favored right now, I think that is hurting the Eldritch Hounds just a bit. But when Oathhh is down, I think you can always lean towards Ducky. He's pretty consistent as far as being able to get in lane, being able to rotate out, upgrading that teleport for level 12 fights if possible. You don't expect to look behind you and see a Hercules underneath your tier 2 towers, things like that. So I think the Eldritch Hounds, as far as who they should be looking towards, I'm still looking at Ducky and Oathhh as some of the facilitators here for the squad.
And I agree. I think we could even see a little bit of a clashing of the metas. As you said,
yep,
Oathhh is somebody who wants to build full damage and hyper carry these games. You look at the opposite side. Adapting is like that too. These teams I don't think are going to be playing as relevant to the other team's metas where there's these tank junglers. Adapting likes that Mercury.
Yep.
When he plays this rat, you're not seeing a breastplate from him. Maybe a rune forged, but that's about it. And I think maybe their metas together aren't clashing, because I think fineokay is happily playing mages. I think he was the one that started the Raijin.
The Raijin for sure, yeah.
Maybe not the Outwash, but he will play that. And I've never really seen Ducky as a mage player outside of the Nox way back when. We've not seen a ton of Raijin, not seen a ton of Outwash, but he's got to show that he can play it. I think you will be falling behind quickly in this set, in this game, if you cannot show that you are able to and happy to play those mage solos.
Well, when we're talking about the tanks, you got to talk about some of these tank players. Ronngyu, one of the facilitators for the Atlantis Leviathans team. We have an interview that we did with him a little bit earlier. Play do now.
Me personally, I feel like I play poorly, even though we win against the Firemen. Well, I'm not losing to Ronngyu support, so that's why we beat them that game. But yeah, I feel like I play poorly. I haven't played the gods that are probably in the meta right now, but I'm gonna work on it. I think we're pretty confident. We prepare very well against the first team we play, but then it's kind of fortunate that then the other team is watching us, but it is what it is. We just try our best to be prepared for the first team, and then second team hopefully doesn't counter us hard. I feel like the Hounds are in a pretty rough moment right now. They left their duo, left. So I don't think they are in a good spot, but it's nothing like they can work on it, but I feel like we're going to be confident against them.
I like the fact that number one, Ronngyu can, recollect on the matchup and say, you know what, I haven't been playing the meta picks. That one's on me. I'm going to work on it. If you guys want to see me play, the top of the tier, of course he's got a Yamoja in the back pocket, but things like that, he is able to make that adaptation. But number two, also recognizing the Hounds have not been looking as great. You're not going to come into this matchup thinking, oh, this is a top tier team, but can't underestimate them, right? They still do have the ability to have some of those pop-off moments, so I like that a lot. And before the interview, the fact that Sheento is looking this confident, just jamming with his carry, with PandaCat there, that's scary, because I don't know if you have the Hazer power rankings memorized, but I'm pretty sure Sheento was pretty high up there, and when he's having a good game, the Leviathans are looking very scary.
Yeah, I think a lot of this revitalized Levi's starts with Panda and Sheento in the back line.
Yep.
They've been playing very, very well together. And I think a little bit of it also is with how Ronnie's been playing in support. That first part of this phase was fantastic. This Sobek now comes out. He's not shown he's willing to play it yet, but picks and bans starting now. We can maybe see if there's something there. Obviously, Emoja is going to be a very high pick, this Athena. And Athena is going to be the first ban by the Eldritch Hounds, who take the first side.
They do, and I think because we're in the picks and bans here, we already talked about the fact that the Eldritch Hounds might try and switch some things up. You got to think about solo lane meta. fineokay, definitely a topic of conversation here. What does Ducky not want to lane against? What does he think he can get pressure on? All of that in conversation. But Athena, one of the top tier supports that can also play multiple other roles. Understand why the Hounds aren't prioritizing that one too much. You want to make sure the Leviathans don't get their hands on it. But when you're in this first pick selection, you can do some of these throwaway bans. You can ban a Ratatoskr, which might not be the end all be all, but you're trying to get something else in that place. Where the Leviathans, they're like, yo, Yamoja, Chernobog, we don't want to deal with any of these. I wouldn't be surprised if Raijin would be that third ban as well. There's a lot that you do not want to give over to the Eldritch Hounds. But to your point, does Ducky even like the Raijin? Is Ducky going to want to play a pickup like that? We'll have to see. The last one from the Hounds will be the Baba Yaga. So now, difficult decision for the Leviathans. What do they need to take away to make sure the Eldritch Hounds don't first pick?
And I think with the Levi's in this spot right here, I think they should have Ducky show them that he will play the Raijin first. This is a 5-game set. This
Fair.
is something where that first game is important. Yes, you want to get the momentum on your side. But if Ducky's not going to prove he will play it, then you just have a free Raijin pick. Fortunately for the Hounds, Ducky will be playing, well, maybe not officially, because this Raijin can still be flexed. But the Raijin value is still there for the Hounds. They're willing to first pick it. And I think a little something with the second side value right now, I don't think there's like a well-established, this is the end-all be-all god in the meta currently.
Right.
Chernobog was it for a little bit, but he's kind of brought down a little bit. I think Anhur is valued nearly as much. Athena's valued nearly as much. Yamoja. I mean, even Baba, stuff like that. So there's a lot of very highly valued gods, and that is not what I think of as a highly valued god. We've not seen a ton of Charon, and when we do see the Charon, it's not winning too much.
That's true. I mean, the Boat Boy does provide some good poke damage. I think the ult can provide some of this great initiation, but more often than not, it's being sent halfway across the map in slow motion and sometimes connects. I'm talking about specifically fineokay. He likes playing that god in the solo lane, so could be that fineokay takes that one once again, or hold on a little bit longer. You called it the Anhur coming out from the Eldritch Hounds. Definitely one of the more aggressive hunters that we have in the meta currently. And because, to your point, this Raijin isn't necessarily going towards Duck, he has the ability to be piloted in the mid lane from BennyQ as well. You're not really sure if the carries are already locked in here for the Hounds. Do they have their front line already locked in? And now the Leviathans have to ban with that knowledge. Are we trying to ban out more picks that Ducky could go to? Or do we focus out BennyQ? The safe call, just ban out Oathhh. You don't have to guess anymore.
Yeah, and I think Oathhh has also shown that he's going to play the same 2 or 3 gods. I think that's a comfortable position to go for the bans. Levi's, before they're able to get to their bans, they lock in the Morgan Le Fay. 3 magical gods already locked in for the Levi's. Not officially locked into their roles, but most likely Morgan mid, Soul ADC, Charon support, some possibility of Charon solo. And with that, Oathhh played a ton of Susano, even after the nerfs. It's a good throwaway ban by the Levi's. Hounds opt for the Thor ban. We've not seen a ton of Thor value. It's mostly that bottom pick part of the picks and bans where maybe a lot of junglers are banned. It's kind of right there with the Naja, where it's mostly dependent on will the jungler play it. It's more of a comfort pick than anything. And then the Alma Camazotz to round out the bans.
Yeah, had to be the Camazotz there. That's one that adapting has been liking to go to a fair bit. Still has the Mercury available, notably not the greatest pickup in this meta, but adapting makes some things work that don't necessarily have to, right? He can just force those plays and has a decent matchup into the Raijin. Pretty easy to connect some of those crits when he is just in that Taiko drums. But so far, 3 magicals for the Atlantis Leviathans. Gonna need some more physical damage somewhere in this draft, which leads me to believe the Charon still could be going over to fineokay. There's just some options there. But I really am curious about the Raijin. I need to know. The Eldritch Hounds, reveal to me, is Ducky playing this god, something that we wouldn't have expected from him, or are we just going to see something like the Hercules locked in, which he has liked a fair bit since the start of this season, really. The Herc, great initiation. It can follow up with the Sobek if you need more beads burned. Oathhh gets his job just so much easier with that extra CC. Looks like the Leviathans thinking about this one and reveal the Awilix. They have some great knockups in Morgan Le Fay and Soul to try and set up for it, as well as just, you want early pressure? Awilix is one of the best, one of the most hard-hitting junglers at level 2, pre-level 5 you're going to find. Go over to duo lane, try and catch Anhur leaping away. There's just a lot of options with this Awilix.
And there was a potential hold for adapting to get that last pick. But I think they still want to keep this Charon flexed. They're still not too sure which lane they're going to play it into. Maybe they're leaning one way or the other, but they are still not too sure. There's a couple strong solo picks up. We've seen some good Hades that would put them into 4 magicals, though, which is maybe a little iffy. Wukong, another one that stands out as a pretty solid warrior right now. And as you said, the Hounds waiting to see what they're planning on doing with the Raijin. Are they going to be having it in Benny's hands, who's... Benny likes Raijin. He will play the Raijin happily, even if Raijin is played more in solo lane. Benny is a player that will pick this Raijin and take it into the mid lane. And as alluded to, we don't consider Ducky a true mage player, but with the raw hover, the Lancelot hover, that is leading to the Raijin in solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, if we're honest, if Ducky doesn't have a Raijin, by watching the past couple weeks, it almost forces him to start playing it, right? You need to have something like that in the back pocket. Would not hate the Lancelot, but definitely not a pick I think of when it comes to Oathhh. I was considering the Bakasura once again. Again, not something great in the meta, but maybe fearing that leap from the Awilix doesn't want to be pulled back in every time he tries to engage or disengage. Even so, thinking about this one, sustain from the Ra would help, but you don't have much setup. That's my main issue with picking Ra here, is are you just counting on the pluck or the taunts in from Raijin? BennyQ, out of all the mid laners picking this pick, sometimes he doesn't need that setup, man. He just goes around the wall, goes for the blind snipes, and makes it look good.
And 100%, Benny is not somebody who needs that setup. It's obviously going to help, but it is not something that Benny has shown he's reliant on. A lot of the times, though, you do like that full dive kind of solo jungle where you can, in the confusion, send out an ult that the backliners aren't expecting.
Yep.
That's not going to be the case this game. This is going to be a heavily poke-reliant Hounds team, and then eventually if they poke down enough, they heal up enough, have enough of a health advantage, That's the go button. That's Oathhh then sending it going in. Maybe a Neil blink too. And a set hover so far. Not locked in, but a hover. This god has nearly completely disappeared from the meta in just 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, this was a first pick.
Yep.
We need to get it. Just this week, this god is just gone.
I mean, if Set did get locked in, would you give that over to Sheento and put Morgan Le Fay over in solo like we've seen a few times, or you're shaking your head? You hate that pick.
No, I don't hate the pick. I want Set. I think if these mage solos are getting picked, I think Set is an absolutely perfect pick for that role. You're not going to be getting bullied out. You farm very safely. It is a very Sheento god,
right?
But so is Morgan. And if I'm thinking about fineokay, how does fineokay want to play? Both make sense, but I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with him on this set. When Set was OP in solo lane 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, fineokay is one of the first players that come to mind.
That is
he
true.
really positions perfectly on this character. He knows how to engage. There's got to be a build out there that he likes that makes sense in the meta, especially into these mages that aren't really building all that much power in solo.
So you're saying you want to, if you had the choice, you're not predicting anything, if you had the choice, you would take fineokay with the Set, just give Sheento's Morgan Le Fay, and of course, duo lane Sol Charon.
If I'm Slaney, I am taking the keyboard from fineokay and the mouse, and I am trading for that Set no matter what. Fortunately, I'm not Slaney, so it's not my decision. There is still possibility that Morgan goes solo, and it is a mage v mage matchup, and to be fair, to put it out there, Morgan is one of the best 1v1er against mages in the game. She has good range, good poke, solid sustain when she goes into that ultimate ability.
Self-peel, yeah.
Yeah, and then she's got good chase down potential. So I don't hate it either way. I just like the Set in solo slightly more.
I mean, if we're just talking about 2v2, right? If in this case, it's Raijin Lancelot and Morgan Le Fay Awilix, right? If that was the solo matchup. Morgan Le Fay has pretty easy setup for that Awilix pull. You're going to have an easy time silencing out or fearing out the percussive storm there from Raijin, so would get the better end of those trades. But to your point, the Set's not going to worry too much about Raijin. You have so much escape potential, and then you're going to rotate faster as well. So I can see both legs. But when it comes to pressure, I think a lot of these lower-seeded teams need to get active early, right? That is the easiest part of the game to try and build up a lead. You just have to go for some cringe ganks, find some early buff invades. Do you give the early pressure to the Atlantis Leviathans just because of the Awilix, or are the Eldritch Hounds having something that we don't see?
I think this Hounds pick, or this Hounds comp as a whole, does have a lot of solo lane or duo lane pressure. Anhur Sobek is one of the best kill lanes you can have. You get a pluck. Anhur has that pen on his passive. He's just got a lot of base damage also, so he's got a lot of kill potential there. But Awilix has got to be the highlight. This is a god that wants to get involved early. She goes for that blink a lot of times early also. Expect a level 2, level 3 gank in just about any lane. This is a lot of volatility in this game, other than maybe some safety in solo lane in duo lane with Sol Charon, which is just no knock-up immunity, dashes, slow immunities. There's a little bit of safety over there, but either way, Awilix has really good ganks. Lance has solid ganks also in the early game. So I'd expect some semblance of early game from the Hounds, but you can never count out the Awilix.
Well, we don't have to count on it any longer. The Eldritch Hounds taking on the Atlantis Leviathans. Game number 1. Got it right here for you.
Thank you so much, Trelly, and Inbound on the desk. That's right, it's the Eldritch Hounds and the Atlantis Leviathans. Game number 1, our final set of the weekend here in week number 5. It's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug here to bring you the action. But we will be seeing another mage join the solo lane rankings now, Miff. We've had Raijin, Hades, Oathhh. We had a Poseidon earlier this week from Baskin. Now we're throwing Morgan Le Fay into the mix. How do you kind of feel about, we've talked a lot about Morgan Le Fay mid, great peel up against herself, against some of these dive assassins. But now with the way that the solo lane build path has kind of dictated itself, how do you feel about Morgan Le Fay solo?
Man, I don't know exactly how I'm feeling as far as like whether or not I like it or I don't like it. Just know that I feel strongly about it, though. It feels like with Raijin in Soul Lane and Hades in Soul Lane, you've got gods that can initiate fights pretty consistently, or at least heavy CC output that is incredibly consistent. You don't necessarily need all the damage all the time, and they can get in and involved with that leap pretty consistently too. When I think of Morgan Le Fay, I'm like, okay, well, we can see Pythag's Piece first item, Breastplate of Valor second, then immediately into Typhons, right? Like that new age standardized solo mage. But what is she really doing with it? We've got a point-blank knockup, and we've got a long-range fear or slow, right? So we'll see how it pans out. And even looking at the Leviathans draft as a whole, this is a very difficult to execute on composition. Had they had a more generic or standard soul laner, I wouldn't be as concerned with their ability to start off fights or engage. But you've got Charon in support, who for the most part is really annoying to deal with, but isn't exactly hard CC-centric. And then you got a Morgan Le Fay over in the soul lane with a squishy mid laner, non-standard range mage. It's an assassin this time for Sheento. Adapting needs to get point blank, so needs those frontliners there to create the space for him. I'll be very interested to see how the Leviathans play around this draft. It could be as well that they just play through pressure and it doesn't really matter, right? Late game, your engage doesn't need to be good if you're 10k up. So we'll see if that's the case. On the other hand, the Eldritch Hounds, their draft is way easier to talk about. It's just a bunch of standards.
I mean, and it's wild to say, you know, maybe a week or two before this, we wouldn't be saying Raijin solo is standard, but thanks to some of the efforts of fineokay and other solos, has become that. 2v2 gets beads away from BennyQ, and that's a dive now by Sheento. Knockup is good onto BennyQ. He's low. One more in hand, one jump from adapting will get first blood.
He's
and
in
now
trouble.
Oathhh has got to be careful. Does have the knockback. That'll push them away, and that's just enough space to save his life. Can't say the same for his mid. It's first blood for Leviathans.
And Benny loses the beads too. That double assassin rundown from the Leviathans, something that Benny's going to be struggling with all game. The second those beads were costed, Benny doesn't decide to fully retreat. It essentially steals his life. Sheento closes gap, dashes in, connects the slow with Skewer, and Benny's just done from there. Adapting, of course, holding on to that jump for as long as possible, just in case Benny made it a bit further away, and does secure the kill with it. Oathhh doesn't have a lot of CC just yet. I mean, that knockback saves his own life, but not enough to save Benny himself. And if the knockback isn't there, I believe Adapting's knock up was coming up with another 2 or 3 seconds. Might have just been a double kill first blood for the Leviathans. Fast start, not what you want to see if you're an Eldritch Hounds fan. Set can do a whole lot with a lead.
Do you see Adapting on his way over to solo? Ducky's aware of this, but can he get away? Jump for jump means that Ducky will be fine now under the tier 1 tower. And I kind of want to dial in maybe a little bit on the point that Inbound was making on the desk about this set. Haven't really seen him prioritized by very many teams as of recent. Blue buff stole by Adapting. Oathhh hit by the knockup. The dash called out too. Nowhere to go, but can they close the gap? Adapting will ride on Suku, jump over the wall, needs that Jaguar for the knockup to secure this kill. No blink is available, heals there, and one more flip. It's Adapting with 2 now. The Leviathans jungler not only steals blue, kills Oathhh, but takes the red buff away from Benny.
I've been saying it, man. Awilix is good, okay? You see this damage output, the threat of CC? You cannot turn your back on this god. The CC chaining, the pressure. Give me your speed buff, too. Blue, speed, red, it's all Adaptings. And it's happened so quickly. All the while, Benny's trying to defend, so he's not even getting farm himself. So Sheento pulling even further ahead. Leviathans, they have set a lightning quick pace to this one. Maybe it is the goal. Hey, it doesn't matter if our late game team fight ain't real normal. We can just transition in towards it with a massive lead.
Ronngyu thrown in the tower, takes an extra shot, used the ultimate, but Stu immunes it out with his own. Turns it around to get 1 for the Hounds, and now Oathhh rotating in. Dismount is good, has to wait out the sap rate, but
there's no way.
Kill potential is going to be a bit on the lower end. Ult's out, doesn't connect with PandaCat, who gets to live through. Lose out of support, but a good answer back now for the Hounds.
Yeah, wishful thinking there from Oathhh, and a massive loss on that ultimate. Still, though, knocking down Ronngyu, certainly valuable. Need a lane now for the Eldritch Hounds to be able to play through, and you do not lock in Sobek Anhur to play passively. That is a hyper-aggressive duo. I'd like to see Oathhh continually making those rotations over towards that left-hand side. Play through your strong point, I say. And knocking down Ronngyu, of course, going to slow him down a bit. That said, slight departure from the normal for Ronngyu. Prophetic Cloak in first slot. I think Charon, one of the best Guardians to go for this style of build, just because of how consistently he can apply his damage. I mean, he's basically a mage.
I mean, those ranged auto attacks always make it so simple for these Guardians to be able to do so. He's trying a little bit, at least for now. We'll see Oathhh under fire yet again. This double assassin dive is just getting to be a bit too much for the Hounds. They live through this time. Ducky actually elects to dive in alongside Oathhh for the potential re-engage, but the Leviathans are quick to get back to their own respective lanes. Potential blue buff invade once more. Oathhh and Ducky don't have ultimates yet. Meanwhile, adapting Fino, they're both sitting on theirs as this blue buff comes back up. We'll see if Ducky tries to risk any of his life to take that one away. Will not. It'll be another invade for adapting.
Man, the Leviathans have just controlled the right side of the map so well. That's an answer that some of these teams have come up with to deal with the Raijin. Doesn't exactly have the strongest early game. Once he's 3 items deep, pretty difficult to deal with. Until then, easy to sit on, and that's exactly what the Leviathans have been able to do. fineokay is playing well on the Morgan Le Fay, just keeping that poke up, keeping the pressure up. That ability right there, the one that's going to make it difficult for Ducky to exist in this lane. Doesn't have any ability that can match the range of Morgan Le Fay's third. So, with a lead, things are going to be tough. Ducky's going to need a bailout soon.
He's going to need some help from Oathhh, but problem is the last 2 blue buffs. Adapting is just W-keyed at the enemy team, said, I dare anyone to out-secure me on this buff. I dare anyone to fight me at this point. Has not had that answer back just yet. The response for the Hounds was get aggressive in the dual lane, but some of that afforded to them by Ronngyu standing this far up in the lane. Made for an easy pluck for NeilMah. But a little bit of a lead, at least in the dual lane, is where we could see some strengths in the Hound. This is where the Hounds team has made their adjustment over the course of this phase, losing Quig in the support role at the beginning of the phase, and then just now losing Vaporish Coast just a couple of weeks prior. Has made it difficult for this Hounds team to really kind of adapt to maybe a new playstyle with this different dual lane.
Yeah, since then, Stu's played a much more passive role than Vaporish Coast has in the past. NeilMah and Quig, I think, pretty similar in playstyle, and even at times Godpool. So perhaps a more simple transition there. We'll see, though. This Soul really starting to hit some significant power spikes. PandaCat already has the Telkines finished up. Likely Typhons in this next slot, get some of that penetration available. And the lifesteal, the sustain, I think something the Eldritch Hound's going to struggle to deal with. Haven't got any anti-heal just yet in build. Have a little bit to play with just off of kits alone. NeilMah's Sickening Strike might be able to slow things down a bit.
Oathhh walks up, but instantly met by not only adapting, but Ronngyu standing near. And that shield from that second ability can always make things tricky in these team fights. But now it's a collapse back in around shield buff. Very significant grouping. Everybody except the Soul Laners heading over to this side of the map. This is a battle.
Close.
The Leviathans will win out. The Impale a bit soon from Stu. So it will be a shield buff for Leviathans, but Ronngyu lets the ultimate rip. It will clip Stuart, and it distracts. Now Oathhh is pulled back by adapting, but Oathh's got the ult. Able to use the Joust Field to get himself out, and Ronngyu likewise use the Lurk in the Waters, or at least for NeilMah, keeps himself safe. Now Leviathans have once again pushed players from the Hounds out of the jungle and are stealing more buffs.
I wonder. They steal away the green, they steal away some of that farm, but having sent 2 back to base there and knowing that Oathhh and NeilMah both not only in base, but in base without their ultimates, potentially could have been an opportunity for the Leviathans to look towards that Gold Fury, leverage some of that pressure that Soul has, that massive DPS throughout the early. But when you're winning out so handily on map, I suppose you don't need to feel the pressure to look towards the objective. Would much prefer to grab a pick first. There has to be somewhere Oathhh can put some of this pressure himself. He's getting outpaced so much in the jungle, adapting everywhere on map, and usually on the Eldritch Hound side of the map. Maybe if Oathhh could start catching Sheento preemptively on his rotations. Sheento's been rotating very aggressively through the jungle, haphazardly even. Catch him out, apply some of that damage there. Could make things a little bit easier, perhaps continue to rotate over towards that dual lane, but we're starting to reach the point in the game now where Soul's very difficult to knock down. I just couldn't say.
NeilMah's used his dash, he doesn't have his ultimate. It's a 4-man collapse by the Leviathans. Healing from Benny's keeping him up, but the tiniest knockup from Supernova is just enough room for adapting to find the ultimate and pull him back in. That is not an easy setup for the King, but he makes it look simple.
I mean, that's just as clean as it gets. You know, Bobby on the desk said the couple good knockups on the side of the Leviathans for this Awilix, and I said, where? None of these are super easy to play off of. Even Dragonflight, for the most part, a much faster knockup than what we're used to seeing around this Awilix. But when margins are low and you need precision, adapting's your guy. King Kenneth, been doing it for a real long time, and as you said, makes it look easy.
Now Leviathans with a 3-1 kill lead and a 3,000 gold lead at that, coming off of these kills. Oathhh
He's on tour.
He's taking a little lap around the jungle, but unfortunate for him, there is not a whole lot of farm to be had anywhere a single roaming harpy that he can maybe grab before he's spotted out. As Adapting is already beelining that direction. A fight towards solo lane could break out. fineokay does manage to spot out Oathhh, but it's similar. Adapting, waiting for his chance to go over, blinks the wall, and then goes in with the ultimate. Nearly grabs Ducky, but beads there for the Raijin means the solo laner is safe for now.
Yeah, the next time around, be a little bit more difficult to survive that one, as Sheento gets aggressive on the left side of the map too. Leviathans, this is a far departure from the standard pace I'm used to seeing from this team. I used to think mid-game was the Leviathans' MO. They have sped things up significantly. I wonder though, are they capable of transitioning this roughly 3K into a little bit more substantiated 5K? That's generally where I put the alarm bells. How does their objective fight look? I still do think the Eldritch Hounds, just with their more standard draft, will have advantage come late game. So for them, the Hounds that is, it's about mitigating loss and making sure the bleed out doesn't get too bad. Leviathans need to get as much done as possible throughout this early. I'm still thinking about those objectives. PandaCat's got a lead too. You don't want to box into him. He's finished up the Typhon's Fang. Stu doesn't really have the same level of sustain, doesn't have it in kit like Soul does. Go for a bit of poke. Go towards the objective. Levi's can force a fight. Way easier to hold a position than take it. We'll see. Eldritch Hound's doing all right, though. It's keeping the pace within realm of acceptable losses. Experience not too far out of control. It's mainly just the gold as of now.
Yeah, XP-wise, we're sitting at maybe a level to a half a level just about everywhere in favor for Leviathans, but you wouldn't believe that. I mean, given the aggression that we have seen from Adapting, he's playing like he's 2 or 3 levels up at this point. With the first beacon now contested, NeilMah's dash in, finds a good tail whip for a bit of disruption, and it does force the Leviathans off the point. And it seems the Leviathans are just going to go ahead and give this one up. Left fineokay over in the solo lane. He's going to go ahead and just split push, take a tier 1 tower. Let the Leviathans give up this one. Eldritch Hounds, they get the beacon. That's their first win so far of this game that's been going through. 12.5 minutes in. What is Oathhh trying to fish for now? Purple buff's down. To pick on a PandaCat will be great, but PandaCat's pretty healthy, even using Supernova just to guarantee the shield buff for him.
And he grabs it and continues moving forward. 3v1, by the way. At least has the confidence of knowing his team's right behind him. Take a look at this, though. Ducky's rotated back towards solo, but who's made his way all the way across the map? It's fineokay. 5 versus 4, best case scenario for the Eldritch Hounds. And they won't give it up this time. So it's a shield buff confirmed by ultimate on PandaCat, which is your objective secure, into an immediate objective pull, into an immediate green buff invade. Leviathans are just on top of it.
Benny connects the ult onto Adapting, but Adapting and Ronngyu have confirmed the green buff away. That, I think now, just from what we've already seen on field, that is 6 buffs that Adapting has stolen away from just the time he has been on the center of our screen. That's not including any other rotations he's made so far. The triple at the beginning of the game, the second speed buff, now 2 greens that Adapting has had complete control on, which is why I was saying it's so strange to see these only 1 level up over Oathhh. I guess credit to the jungler for the Eldritch Hounds for being able to keep up with this momentum.
Yeah, Oathhh spending a lot of time in the jungle farming whatever Adapting hasn't taken. Adapting spending a lot of time jumping into lanes, trying to take fights, trying to poke out whoever he can. So a much more PvP-focused playstyle from Adapting has his impact on map significantly. Usually it's a decision of, do I want to farm, do I want to fight? And if you choose fight, you're going to fall behind. Simply not the case for Adapting, who is maintaining a slight advantage.
PandaCat's rotated to Pyro, so Sheento holds down the fort in left, keeping Stuart busy. The Eldritch Hounds have shown up to Pyro, which is now dropped by the Leviathans, but still a strong grouping, keeping PandaCat here. Similar levels of push that the set has as far as the wave to wave, and maybe similar threat in team fight. Good damage from BennyQ will keep the squad from maybe pushing in a little bit further forward, but man, you can already see just by the fact that all 5 chest camps are there, it means we're looking at a 5,000 gold lead that the Leviathans have at this stage of the game. And again, this isn't like they're winning every single team fight, taking kill after kill, objective after objective. This is 1 Fury, not even a Pyromancer, and just buff steals, keeping everything in the jungle away from them.
Yeah, it was that rotation, or lack thereof, from fineokay that really throws the Eldritch Hounds for a loop. Speaking of, Stuart trying his best to defend his tower, unsuccessful, simply knocked down by PandaCat. No rotation from the rest of the Hounds means you're just going to walk away from this one with a little bit more global gold in your pocket. I was surprised to see the Leviathans make such a massive rotation over towards the left-hand side there, considering Pyromancer was up, but with Ducky on the right-hand side and scaling relatively well on this Raijin, perhaps you don't want to go ahead and pull the Pyro. Instead, keep your eyes on the more guaranteed farm. Levi is suffering from success right now. Not a whole lot to do on map because you've already done a whole lot of it.
Fury, towers in both of the side lanes have already been taken. The only other thing they have to do besides killing the enemy team is a Pyromancer, and Eldritch Hounds now know this is happening. 4 on the way, but it might be too little and too late. The Leviathans clear that one out. A bit too far for BennyQ to try and snipe that one away. Ducky does jump in, but will immediately pull himself right back out of that team fight, or maybe avoid the potential of a team fight. Good answer back from Stu, though. Recognizes that he's not going to be able to make it to any fight in mid. Starts pushing up the left side tower. fineokay under siege. Dive in from Oathhh, but immediately jumps to the ultimate. The CC immunity to go away as fast as he can. The root is good, and Ducky has the follow-up damage they need. A kill for the Hounds. But now Stu has used his speed. Sheento is on to the chase, throws out one of the spawns, and just keeps on swinging away. Skewer is there to wait out the Aegis. And Leviathans have now gotten 4.
Oh, NeilMah narrowly escapes with his life as well. Gravity Surge, likely a death sentence there. Good play from Sheento. Waits out every single relic, knows exactly what Stu's aiming for. I mean, just holds the skewer for the perfect amount of time, burns through both beads and Aegis and the life of the ADC. Levi's are leading the Eldritch Hounds around the map by the nose.
Benny beads and Aegis there. He said, look, I watched one of my teammates get picked up by Supernova. I'm not letting that happen to me. So immediately popped both of those relics as soon as the ultimate's dropped on his head. But that's now 160 seconds that BennyQ is without that safety. And adapting is built into quite a hefty amount of CDR. That ultimate was just already on a very short cooldown. We're looking at, what, 40 some odd seconds, and adapting can loop back and do it once more.
I mean, it's already back up now from when we'd seen it just previously. This versatile playstyle from the Leviathans is so hard to lock down. It feels like they're shifting between the map, just trading roles every few minutes. Sheento will hold down the duo lane so that PandaCat can rotate to Pyro. fineokay is rotating towards mid so that Sheento can go to the duo. I mean, there's just so much map play here from the Leviathans, keeping the Eldritch Hounds guessing on exactly what the MO is. What's the strat? There's 2 on right, there's 1 on left, or what are you going to the Pyro, or are you going to the gold? Fortunately for the Eldritch Hounds, not a lot of entropy to work through, considering Gold Fury is the only thing available right now, barring Fire Giant itself. With so many grouped up on the left-hand side, you gotta think the Leviathans would want to pull it soon. Just wait on Sheento. He's made his way back towards base. PandaCat can heat check it, but with Oracle Vision over to the Eldritch Hounds, you can't exactly sneak anything here.
Sheento's already level 19, by the way. Closing in on that level 20, pre-20 minutes at this point. We see the Leviathans grouping up around the already capped beacon. It's going to be a few more minutes before that next one comes back up. Or it could just be some threat around for the Oni Fury. Eldritch Hounds not quite in position to take this one. BennyQ's got range with the snipe. Leviathans might need to be a bit quicker if they want to try and take this one down. A fight could even just potentially break out beyond here, but it will be a reset around. fineokay goes in. The fight hasn't truly broken just yet. Leviathans keep dancing around this Fury.
Yeah, you got to figure out your way in. NeilMah leading the charge now. Finds Sheento. Where's the follow-up?
Leviathans have got to go in. Let's take a listen in with the Leviathans on the fight.
Nice. We get on her.
Guys on the side. Look at
Raijin ulting. I'm with you guys diving.
He's just fearing us.
They're behind us. We need help behind. We need help behind.
We need help on Lance.
Coming back to you guys.
Go fire.
Oh, Raijin's still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lance is
I'm going to Raijin. Yeah, do you have anything?
Go backfire, boys. Go backfire.
Leviathans clean and concise in what
got
they
him.
want to do. Jump in, go for the team fight, get the triple kill for adapting. Why not? At 4 deaths to the columns of the Eldritch Hounds, they can get a Fury, and you heard it in the calls. Fury, back, fire seems to be the call for Leviathans.
I love these listen-ins, man. They do the work for me. I don't have to guess anymore. Where are we going? It's gold, backfire. We broke it down. Simple enough. The Eldritch Hounds, I mean, they just did not have the damage to start that fight. NeilMah finds Sheento. That's as priority a target as you're going to get. You send the set through the air. Sheento feels so unthreatened. He had beads and said, I don't need it. I'm going to land and then I'm going to kill you. And that's exactly what happens. There needs to be something. And it's not easy follow-up, right? You can't just have Benny beam ult every single time off a Sobek pluck, especially at an awkward angle like NeilMah had delivered, but there needs to be more than that. A Grand Joust, a Taiko Drum, something, Desert's Fury, anything. Sheento cannot fly through the air and just simply be delivered to the back line. It was DHL expedited shipping, man. That ridiculous. He would buy Blink to do that if he could, but he has Beads Aegis instead. Levi's, we heard the call. We'll see whether or not they still have the time for it. All the Eldritch Hounds back on the map. Fire Giant not looking at it as easy as maybe it once did. But with so much of a lead, you can do essentially no wrong. Group up, knock down a tier 1 tower, control where the Hounds are allowed to play.
May not have been able to go straight to Fire Giant. Took maybe a little bit longer than they wanted to. Not only securing that 4th kill, but then taking the Fury after. So it was a Pyromancer instead and a tier 1 tower in mid. Now no tier 1s left. And with Oni minions starting to push up on the left-hand side, that tier 2 under a bit of threat now for the Eldritch Hounds. The Leviathans will start their small group up over towards the right side, adapting, still farming up in the left, made sure that his tier 1 tower lives on that side of the map. But now, what can the Eldritch Hounds do? I mean, they're sitting at a near 9,000 deficit. We're pushing 8,000, 8,500k down for the Eldritch Hounds. I mean, what follow-up do they have for something around this Fire Giant?
Oh, man. Catch the zoner. Maybe that's the call. I don't think the Eldritch Hounds can legitimately walk into the pit. But if you want to show some presence on map, fineokay probably shouldn't be allowed to stand this far up. He's tanky on the Morgan Le Fay. 2 dedicated defense items, but certainly not unkillable just yet. Regardless, it's the Eldritch Hounds giving up the fire entirely. There's 0 defense. Instead, it's farm up. We got to get ready to play under our Phoenixes. Got to get ready for this next siege attempt. And I don't hate that call from the Hounds, considering how unorthodox a composition this is from the Leviathans. I'll be excited to see what that siege begins to look like. Probably very PvP focused. We saw what the dive looked like on the Gold Fury. I assume that's what we're going to see on the Phoenix as well. But the Eldritch Hounds have got good defense. You can have both Ducky and Benny just hang out in the back, keep those waves out. If it's a split push 3-2, just make sure Benny and Ducky are separated, and the Leviathans are really going to struggle to get those minion waves in. Not an EFG just yet, so you need them.
Do you see 4 grouped up towards the right? Actually, it's a collapse to Oathhh. Grand Joust now used just to escape the 3-man core of the Leviathans diving towards him. BennyQ used the beam and drops the heal at range just to try and zone the Leviathans away, but Leviathans are concerned more than anything with the tier 2 tower. PandaCat, plenty of damage in hand to knock that one down. And now still waiting for the minion wave. Adapting will go back, clear that one out to allow his team to get ready for the 2nd push. Still plenty of time to play with fire, though. We're still looking almost 3 minutes of time. But they've got until this buff fades away. Call for probably a tier 2 sweep across the map.
Likely. Tier 2 sweep, fall back to Gold Fury. Push that lead even further. PandaCat's taking a lot of damage, though. Will need to heal himself back up. Sheento and Adapting rejoin the team. And the Hounds posturing pretty far forward here. They haven't got a whole lot of tower left to play with.
PandaCat is going to sustain himself back up. fineokay and Sheento wrapping around. fineokay pulling in for the knockup. And it's already a dead Ducky as soon as he lands with a tidal wave. He's going to catch 2 and get the beads and Aegis off of them. Sheento takes down Oathhh. It's a dive to Stu. He's so low in the back line. And NeilMah might just be the next one down. Dragonflight for the knockup. The tail whip keeps him alive for a moment later, but Sheento will end that question there. A double kill for the mid laner of the Leviathans. And still 5 alive for them. They can push right in. It's only BennyQ and Stu. Never mind, it's only 4. BennyQ with a snipe should end the push of the Leviathans.
And the Titan walks out of base, so even if the Levi's had more to give, nothing to give it to. Stuart too far forward. Gravity Surge, come back here. PandaCat for the kill, and the Levi's notch another. It's only Benny still standing. Fortunately, no Titan to defend, though. The Leviathans will have to take their massive win and walk away. Boo-hoo, I suppose.
Stu had beads the whole way. Why didn't he beads as soon as the knockup hit? He beads when he got hit, when he hit the ground on the other side of the pull at that point.
You don't know when Gravity Surge is coming. Things happen pretty fast. Big color explosion. No, he should have survived that. You're right.
Well, Leviathans can't end the game now. So instead, we'll just grab a Pyromancer, group up over to the left-hand side. Look, they said, hey, now your Titan's not here. We have nothing to hit us back. We might as well just keep fighting. They get Stuart from it. But now we'll have to group up and deal with the Titans, or maybe just let the Titans have their own clash on the left-hand side. Does slow down the momentum for Leviathans for a moment, but I mean, they've still got a staggering near 15,000 gold lead.
I can't believe the Eldritch Hounds decided to defend so hard on that tier 2 as well. And it's not even as if it was first wave defense. If they're there when the tier 2 is at 100% HP, 5 stacked, willing to take the team fight, okay, I get it. That was a 5 stack on 10% tier 2 tower. What was it, 9,000 gold down at the time? Probably just not a well-advised decision there. Okay. Appreciate that, J-Mac, pointing out for me. Elixir of power for Sheento, but we're holding on to party. But he just wants more burst. He just wants more burst. That's all it is. You know, with 6 items, who needs them?
So what if my next hit just does a little more damage, and I also just get an insane amount of damage from Elixir?
Yeah, like exactly 90 additional damage.
Yeah, who needs, you don't need that on anything else. Just the one. Look, you only need one hit.
What were you going to build in that slot? Titan's Bane?
Look, you walk up, you Kingslayer, you let the distance walk through, and then you send like 8 soldiers at them with Skewer. That's going to do more than enough damage. Still holding on to Elixir. But man, the fact that Sheento is that comfortable and has that much of a lead that he can spend a 3k Elixir before anyone on his team has even finished last item.
Well, he hasn't either.
Well, I mean, he hasn't either. I mean, that's the thing, is nobody on his team has bought a tier 3 item in 6th slot, and he's got enough gold to just casually drop for an Elixir.
Yeah, Adapting says, all right, I will actually finish my 6th slot, though. Could have bought Elixir, got Bloodforge instead. Is that better? Yes. If I had to guess, and far be it from me to say our pros are fallible, I'm thinking he just looked at his build and saw 6 pictures and said, I'm full slotted.
All of similar color, the red-orange style of item. He said, that's good enough.
That can't have been on purpose. There is an argument to be made. Sometimes you don't want to finish your build. You'll buy like a 500 pot if you think it's the last fight of the game. That makes sense to me. He could have just finished the build, though.
He could have literally bought a full item and probably a 500 potion with how much he spent.
You seen Hazer's Twitter thread of just like people cooking or lacking cooking?
Yeah, the lack thereof cooking.
This is overcooking. It's burnt! You burnt it!
He's starting to burn a little bit, but we'll see if that overcooking does manage to make a good meal for the Leviathans. Fire Giant, the next one up on the menu. I'll stop with my food puns now. 27.5 minutes for the second Fire Giant for the Atlantis Leviathans, and similar to the first one, Eldritch Hounds in no position to step up to this. They'll give that one up, but now there's no towers for Leviathans to deal with. They spent their whole Fire Giant buff prior taking the 3 towers off of the map, and a Phoenix, and nearly in the game. Wants to stop the Leviathans now from just hard grouping up in mid and pushing down this weakened Phoenix.
Not a whole lot. I mean, 2 Runic Bombs in play. That's probably just the Phoenix itself. See what PandaCat decides to do. Could be the Leviathans just want to end the game now. Could be. They've got eyes for right side bird. Whether or not PandaCat decides to push down that wave won't be the case. I get it. Levi's best offense is a good offense, right? Just keep going. Keep pushing. We haven't seen the Eldritch Hounds stop a push just yet.
Big heals from BennyQ. Keep the team healthy as Sheento just does that consistently. Stand around the wall, throw down a spawn, use a skewer right after, see who he can poke out. Hasn't ended him too much just yet because of the sustain offered to the Hounds from BennyQ. Minions are about to step in.
Definitely splitting.
It is a weakened Phoenix right now, but the Leviathans are playing so cautiously around it. They are biding so much time around this bird.
Yeah, just keep on poking, leverage the sustain of Fire Giant. I mean, there's decent healing on the side of the Eldritch Hounds. BennyQ keeping his team relatively healthy, but Divine Ruins applied well, and NeilMah gets the pluck silenced mid-dash. That's tough.
That is not an easy margin for Ronngyu to hit, but he stops that one right in its tracks. Phoenix is starting to fall low. It goes down, and fineokay uses the ult, but it's only really targeted at NeilMah that time, but it does get the Phoenix. There is a Runic Bomb in pocket for Adapting. Used it, but it's popped almost instantly afterwards. The Phoenix low, and the Phoenix gone. The Leviathans can surge forward. Sheento got pushed into the fountain. Nowhere for him to go, and that may just halt the Leviathans for a moment, but it's not going to stop the Hounds. They're pushing up. Ducky goes in with a Thunder Crash, but they're met by a Supernova on the tail end of that. NeilMah forced out of this fight, and the Leviathans may have just gotten a second win.
Stuart taking a lot of damage here. Desert Fury buys some time, falls himself back. Ducky similarly low, but Benny, you're too far forward.
Adapting takes him down. Ducky low. Ducky's got to go back to the fountain now. It's a 4-man defense with a full health NeilMah, but the pillar from Stu may have just stopped the Leviathans in their tracks. They're not going to go any further forward. Oathhh gets the blink, gets the knockback, but the follow-up's not there. NeilMah misses the pluck, and instead the Leviathans and fineokay, who started this entire fight with it all, gets it back, only to watch his jungler get shut down. Shoved back is fineokay, but Ducky will go right to the grave. The Leviathans in a 3 versus 3 now at the Titan.
Titan taking a lot of damage here. PandaCat's relatively healthy, I would have said, had not Oathhh just dealt with half of them. NeilMah forcing back the Leviathan's core. Do they have the damage to kill Sobek?
NeilMah's low. The Sigil, the second hit would have done it, but a good dash away will take it. And Oathhh finds the kill onto Panda, takes down fineokay nearly, but needs a bit of extra assistance. Gets dismounted from the horse immediately after. I think the fire minions may have just saved fineokay's life. And Stu has got to deal with the cleanup duty, taking down those minions. All the while, Sheento, who died earlier, now he can just go right back to Pyro and solo for himself.
That entire fight for the Leviathans with Sheento dead, by the way, starts things off by burning some relics, gets a little bit of value, then delivered to the enemy fountain. Immediately removed. Regardless, Leviathans take out mid and right Phoenix, completely exposing the Titan, barring one bird on the left-hand side. Maybe we just spin our wheels for the next minute and a half, waiting for Fire Giant to come back up. This is dangerous for the Eldritch Hounds. It's only fineokay nearby, but the Hounds can't know that.
Sigil hits NeilMah and Oathhh. Primal Fury down to a quarter. Adapting and Sheento are now here. The Eldritch Hounds get the Primal Fury.
Knocked him off the horse.
And fineokay uses the ultimate. Dismount. Oathhh uses the ultimate. fineokay blinks in again. Sigil hits NeilMah, separates him from the rest of the team. But the follow-up's not there from the Leviathans just yet. Adapting, not able to land that ultimate on a target. The Leviathans have sent the Hounds back to base once more.
I might be a Morgan Le Fay solo fan. I think I've come around.
Strong feelings are positive strong feelings.
I mean, everything's looking good 20k up. You know, everything's going to look at least decent from that position, but fineokay is doing a lot of damage. He's just tanky enough that it's not easy to all in on him. Kind of liking it. The CC's been decent too. Dragonflight as an initiation tool. We've seen it a few times. Just blink forward, Dragonflight. Let's see what happens. Usually it's good things. Adapting nearly able to pick up a kill there off of fineokay's initiation. Goes for the Gravity Surge, but it was out of range. But as you said earlier, so much CDR and build doesn't really matter.
We do see the Leviathans group up for fire. This one's enhanced Fire Giant though. The Eldritch Hounds might just have to mount a defense, but Oathhh has already taken a lot of poke from fineokay. NeilMah stepping forward with the rest of the Hounds. You either have to step up to defend the fire, you might get collapsed on. The Eldritch Hounds starting to get a little bit low. The poke damage from Leviathans is keeping them back.
Fire Giant pulled once more. Leviathans keeping that pressure up. Benny, Oathhh holding up that front line. But the Levi's, I mean, they've just got so much poke on their side thanks to fineokay. The Hounds step up, get dropped low, and are forced back again.
NeilMah pushed against the wall by Dragonflight. Enhanced Fire, never forced away from. fineokay uses the ult just to get a little bit of chip damage, and Sheento actually clips Oathhh. Does enough damage with a combo that it pulls him off of the wall, off the horse. Adapting, a blink in. He finds 3 with the root after, but not going to get the damage. BennyQ goes for a big snipe on Adapting. That will keep the Awilix out of the fight for the time being.
Now, Leviathans have to lick their wounds for a moment, or at least Adapting does. He's got lifesteal in build. Make contact with some minions. He'll be back at fighting strength. Won't really be needed, though, considering how low that right side bird is. One runic bomb in play, but you'd much rather have PandaCat just auto twice.
Oathhh continue to take this chip damage from fineokay. Those fire shots really starting to do a number on just about everybody. You're talking about how much damage fineokay is doing. I mean, he's leading the chart by a considerable amount over his own team, and he's only got 3 actual damage items into his build, mostly a half and half defense, but this consistent poke, these low cooldowns, he's been able to stack this damage up so consistently.
Yeah, he's just in that front line always, making it so difficult for the Eldritch Hounds to close gap. But the Leviathans are running into the issue of the composition lacking clear engage. Normally, I mean, the game would have just ended. This has taken a lot more sieges, I think, than the Leviathans would have expected.
We're pushing
22,000
cold up. A dead BennyQ pulled out of position by Adapting. That kicks off the fight, and the Leviathans can just charge forward. NeilMah in the waters. That will be his safety, but it's all 3 Phoenixes down. Sheento again diving, But he remembers what happened last time he stepped too far up. One pluck from Neil could completely end his life.
fineokay cleared a wave and healed for 40% of his health. One more wave, he's back at full strength. Sheento doesn't have that same luxury, but they don't really need him when the Leviathans are as healthy as they are.
Ducky goes in with ultimate. fineokay is gone. That's a good start up for the Hounds in the fight. Does manage to get the relic away from Stu. Beads are gone, but NeilMah gets pulled back by adapting, waiting for the feather step after, but it's silenced out. Oathhh tries to make the hero play, but PandaCat says there are no heroes on that squad. Runs them down. Double kill onto Stu. Ducky, the only one left alive for the Eldritch Hounds. Low health bars from the Leviathans, and Ducky's trying to fight back, but the Titan is the primary target. Game 1 to the Leviathans.
Levi said, we will just simply get into the late game with a massive lead. We don't need initiation. It doesn't need to be fancy. I'll run it down. I'll take all your buffs. And by the time we're there, you won't have anything left to fight me with. And it works out perfectly. Usually it's the Eldritch Hounds going for that faster pace. Leviathans just beat them to it.
Yeah, this is a playstyle we're not used to seeing from a Leviathans team. I think you highlight best at the beginning. It says, and this is a 15-20 minutes. We got a nice little lead. Maybe we'll start getting aggressive now, but I mean, this was second speed buff or second blue buff spawn, third blue buff spawn. Adapting is in the right jungle.
Second red buff, second speed buff, all of it, right?
And a kill on top of that. I mean, adapting just really decided early game is where we fight, and that's where the big success came from.
Yeah, that Awilix pick just has so much pressure throughout the early. I'll keep saying it, man. At level 6, Feather Step feels like an execute. It really does. The confirmation on buff, the AoE, the immunity to damage, it's all good. Keep playing Awilix, SPL. That god is good.
Awilix was good. The Morgan Le Fay solo worked out great for Leviathans, and all comes up positive for them. Game number 1 to the Levi's. We'll see if they can keep them game 2 right after this.
A las 12 me dan ganas de llamarte por el FaceTime, a decirte que estás bien fine, que me oras como el wine. Conectamos como Wi-Fi, en otra vida como sci-fi. Tu presencia me pone high. Sé que no son horas de llamar, pero es que quiero comerte a besos. Si Dios quiere se nota, a romperte como todos los versos. Esto no es...
And welcome back, SMITE fans. You want to know the only bad thing about SMITE Pro is that it ends and the SMITE stops. But over at youtube.com/SMITE Pro and youtube.com/SMITEVOD, the fun never ends. You can enjoy some great content there. If you've missed such bangers as Road to Worlds Week 4 Day 2 recap featuring Variety, you can see Inbound and Variety giving each other a nice hug in the thumbnail. We recap the sets. We go over team check-ins. You want to see more content with the pros, more content with the production team, then go over and check those out. Leave a subscription. Helps us out a ton. Thank you guys for that. Now, moving on to the set. If you want to see the action right now, the Leviathans take game number 1 over the Eldritch Hounds. And you said it yourself. I asked you, does just having an Awilix on your team, does that dictate the pace of the early game? And it seemed like adapting dictated a lot of the early game on this Awilix.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of the early portion went towards adapting. He got his team into a really good spot. And then the set took over in the mid to late game. And the dive comp that the Levi's kind of drafted together, it worked out very, very well. There wasn't enough peel on the side of this Hounds comp. The Sobek, very good if you're on the offensive. You're able to get plucks. You're able to punish whoever's getting plucked. Unfortunately, most of this game spent on the back foot, not able to punish whoever is getting plucked. And adapting, I think, is the biggest highlight. The Awilix looks very, very strong early game. Scaled it well into the late game. And he got the team, which is what he needed to do, into that spot where they can just kind of carry around him.
Well, Bobby, with that being said, I have a question to ask you, because looking at some of these highlights, I mean, this is a 12,000 gold lead at 23 minutes. It just seems like the Leviathans should have been able to end a little bit sooner, right? They have this massive lead. They have a fed set. They have a fed Awilix. But the defense of the Eldritch Hounds was just so strong. They were able to keep this game going, in my opinion, a lot longer than it should have. Was that just a siege difference? Was the Leviathans playing a bit scared, or was it just because the Eldritch Hounds had such a solid defense?
I think it was probably a little bit of both. I think when you have these mages, the one thing they do really well is they play defensively well. They clear waves well. But I think a little bit of the Hounds were, or of the Levi's, they were overstaying a little bit, forcing a little bit longer than they should instead of getting resets off, getting spikes, and then getting ready for the next fight. Still a very dominant game by the Levi's, a couple missteps here or there, but still all around.
Does that say 47,000 for
Yeah,
fineokay?
47,000 damage from Fine. Like across the board, 47, 35,000, 27,000. The 3 highest damage dealers were all on the Levi's, and Adapting was number 5. He was number 5. So 4 of the highest 5 damages were on the Levi's. That should say just about all there is. There was so much damage on this Levi's comp.
I mean, I was curious because I heard Mifflin say something along the lines of, I'm a believer in the Morgan Le Fay solo. And I don't think he was ever really doubting it, but that alone should tell you. She can definitely bring the DPS. But with that being said, now that puts the Eldritch Hounds in a position of adaptation. They have to figure out, okay, was it just the Awilix that ruined our early game? Are we just, were we done from the start? Or was there some things we could have done to try and, stop the bleeding, sort of, look for some action of our own and not just go towards defense? We'll figure out if they make those adaptations. So we go into picks and bans for game number 2. First and foremost, the Atlantis Leviathans. This time in the first pick selection, a lot of teams have been valuing that second pick because instead of getting, 1 broken character, in theory, you're able to get 2. And that's kind of the idea. Because the Leviathans are first ban, they have to think about Oleron. They have to think about Amaterasu. Gods that are not that end-all be-all. They can just sort of let those through and try and get some of these more oppressive characters like the Raijins, like, I guess you could say the Chernobyl, but that's not going to get through here, and like the Yamoja.
Yeah, definitely value when there is no... Just, if there is like 2 very, very strong gods, first pick can be really oppressive because there's just gods you have to worry about. But right now there is probably almost 10 dominant gods, and if you trade out well, you ban well, you can get the advantage from that second pick side. Levi's going for the, as you said, Olo Ama bans, following it up with the Op Wash, and the Hounds have Raijin, Chernobog. Leaves open the emoji you mentioned. Now, this emoji has value, but when there's other good supports up like this Athena, it brings the value down a little bit. We have not seen much Athena at all today, yesterday, even the day before, because she has nearly been permabanned. But now that opportunity is up for this god to get picked or for this god to be traded, especially from the Hound side. Like, this is your decision. Do you want to trade Yem for Athena? Do you want to then pick out another god? Or do you think Athena's way too strong? You have to ban it. It's not something you can play against.
Yeah, I just can't imagine you ban one of those picks here. You got to try and grab one for yourself. So what would be the opportunity? But wow, the Hounds actually do just take that Yamoja away.
Athena.
Give the Athena up. I'm not going to say for free, because obviously the Eldritch Hounds knew that was going to be the pickup, and they can get 2 solid gods in return. But when you're in a position where you can get your choice between Athena and Yamoja, and at the very least grab one for yourselves, my guess is they said, hey, Ronngyu on Yamoja is too scary. We just can't risk that. I don't know if I agree. I think that, yes, he is scary, but getting yourself Athena would have been a lot more solid than getting Soul and Rat. But still, very favored picks, and the Rat was taken away last time.
Yeah, and I think that's a big highlight is they must just be so scared of Ronnie's Yamoja.
Yep.
Because with how strong this Athena has been, it's not like you're giving them Yamoja and you're not getting a good support in yourself. But with this, how they did it, banning the Yamoja, giving up the Athena, the next available support is something like a Sobek or maybe something a little more off meta like that Aphrodite that we've seen the Dragons and the Kings play a little bit more. But with this, how they've done it, they're picking that Soul, the Ratatoskr, as you said, and they pick the Camazotz onto the Levi's.
Well, let me ask you this. The Eldritch Hounds banned Yamoja over Athena. So that tells me that they think if they left them both open, the Leviathans not only would value the Yamoja more than the Athena, they would also first pick it, like, guaranteed. So do you think that was more so the Hounds not even wanting the Athena, or the fact that it was just the Yamoja is too scary, we cannot let that through?
I think with the buff to Fabless, I think Yamoja is a little scary right now.
Okay.
I do think Athena is phenomenal too. She makes the game really easy to play. But someone like Ronnie, if he does feel the hot hand, you know, he kind of plays it very, very well. If he's feeling himself, Yamoja can kind of just win you the game by herself with how many defensive tools she has. And the Levi's with this Athena pick, seems like they're kind of doubling down on their dive from last game and going for another dive comp.
And they're tripling down with the dive. I mean, you got double assassin, you have Camazotz and Pele coming through. Now you just look towards that Defender Olympus to help out, make these divers just a little bit tankier. And you better not be missing any abilities because you have the taunt to set up just about every engage you're going to have. Very scary top 3 here for the Atlantis Leviathans. Now the Eldritch Hounds have to consider, are you trying to grab a support before the next wave of bans? And that's exactly what they take. They grab the Terra. They do not want this one getting banned away.
Terra, a very good defensive support, but is countered by the Ankh, so I expect an Ankh this game by the Levi's. And it's a little bit different than I expected coming into this game, where we've not seen much Assassin mid, or Assassin really in general anywhere but the jungle, but the Levi's are still thinking it is still the way to go. This Camazotz, this Pele, one's going jungle, one's going mid, but they're the only ones doing it. The rest of the teams, they're playing for those mages mid, the Baba Yaga, stuff like that. But Baba Yaga, not even contested in a game like this. Hounds have had 3 opportunities to pick it, have not picked it a single time. And it's banned by the Levi's finally, but that is a god we've seen valued at that first, second slot.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, and tell me if there's something you agree with, the rise of Breastplate. So many mages can slot into it so well because of Book of Thoth, because of Breastplate. That sort of makes you scared to pick these assassins, right? You're not going to get as good of an interaction. You can't just go full damage assassin and sort of, out-pressure these mages for free anymore. It seems like that's the reasoning, and because of that, do you think the Leviathans are going to have a rough time with this double assassin comp? I mean, so far, not too many gods, like, the full damage, Jing Wei, you're not going to be building a breastplate there, but surely you can slot into it with the Rat and the Terra, and maybe even one more pick, depending on what the Hounds go to.
Definitely possible. Soul's not going it, like you said, Jing Wei's not going to be going into the breastplate, but we've seen Rat do it before. Seems to be fine on the Rat. Terra, it makes sense to be going. I expect a Fey Blessed out of the Terra also. But it seems like these assassins are just getting very, very undervalued, and it's either just like their clear is not as valued as it used to be, the pressure isn't as valued as it used to be, or that breastplate, as you brought up, is just so strong right now that you just can't opt for it. But the Levi's just don't seem to care because they want that double assassin, and they want this Kuzenbo. And that means Athena, if Medusa's locked in, Athena is most likely going to the solo lane. Final playing slightly different solo lane gods.
Yeah, I was going to say, they have the ability to throw both in. For your money, are you putting the Athena or the Kuzenbo over towards solo? One has better buff clear, but Athena, you could be able to rotate throughout the map pretty easily. This isn't a prediction. I'm just asking if you had the choice. If you were Slaney once again, you were Slaney last time, you're Slaney this time.
I got it wrong last time.
Yeah, but doesn't mean that you said you thought one was better. Doesn't mean you were predicting.
True, very true. And again, I'm going to be predicting, or no, don't. I'm
predict.
Saying one's better. I'm not predicting.
I don't care who's playing them. I want to know who Inbound would put in the solo lane between these two Guardians.
Give me Athena in the solo lane. I think the rotation power, the levels you get, makes dash taunt a lot easier, a lot safer, and I think Kuzenbo itemizes a lot better in support. He's allowed to go that blink and that Thorns, doesn't need to go the teleport,
right?
And it makes just a lot more sense, I think, in that role. And the Hounds finish up P's and B's with a Thor, and who else is going to be taking that Thor other than Ducky?
And they got double semi-global presence there with the Rat. I was worried. You see the Athena locked in so early. Going to be making rotations essentially all around the map, especially if that Athena is over in the solo lane. Can easily go to duo, can easily go over to mid. But now you throw the Rat and the Thor in the mix, and they can sort of, not as quickly, but can certainly follow some of those rotations and get across the map. Good engage, decent burst damage here with the Soul. It does seem like they're trying to bridge the gap between early game to late game, right? You've got this double ADC, for lack of a better term. Soul still definitely an auto attacker at the end of the day. Is the double assassin enough to sort of bridge that gap? Because, again, the Atlantis Leviathans, they also have that double assassin composition. Can the Eldritch Hounds even make it to late game with this composition?
It's definitely giving them better opportunities this game than the last game. Double assassin, especially Thor, Rat, a lot of base damage, really good CC, and then I think this Terra also helps a little bit more on the defensive side compared to that Sobek. So I think, for my money, this is a better overall comp that the Hounds have drafted. And something that kind of slipped by me a little bit is, this is a Medusa picked.
Yep.
We've not seen very many Medusas in a long time, and part of it's got to be because I think this is just a solid matchup for Medusa into that Soul.
Yep.
I assume Soul, ADC, we've seen it sometimes in mid, but this Jing Wei has opted into the mid lane more times than not, than the counterpart. So Medusa into Soul, a matchup where you're granted a little bit of anti-heal, It's very hard to miss your abilities onto the soul. There's no outright dash. So it should give you some semblance of one-shot potential. Also with that new Ada's build that came out, devs into Ada's, a lot of flat pen, a lot of just good damage to be able to one-shot the soul.
That's true.
Curious if that's like the build that he's going to opt for and maybe try to solo down this soul a couple times.
Not to mention the combo that's a little bit old at this point, but still certainly exists. The Petrify into Athenaton, right? You can't look away. I'm sure the Atlantis Leviathans will try to pull that off as much as possible. And as you said, it's not like Soul can immune that unless she's already in that Disapparate. You gotta kind of predict when you're about to get taunted, which isn't always easy. But not to say that Medusa doesn't have her weaknesses as well. There's a reason she's not dominating the meta. When you have a dive composition, when you've got a Thor, when you have a Rat, that dash can get blocked pretty easily. So with duo pressure being so highly prioritized, do you give it over to one comp over the other?
I think I like the Medusa. This is a lane that you want to be playing to win, so I expect them to play towards that duo lane, play towards this Medusa. It'll be a pretty 50-50 matchup, but you're picking Medusa to play through that lane. You're not picking Medusa to avoid it. And
Bobby, can you believe that? I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, you're fine.
We are zooming in on someone for a reason. There was a banned skin picked, and you want to know who it was?
Is it the guy that's you just said was zoomed in?
It is the man on your screen right now. So if you want to shame anyone for getting into game a little bit late, unfortunate. PandaCat picked a banned skin. I'm going to do a little bit of a remake, but in the meantime, we talked about duo pressure. We talked about the fact that the double assassin composition will be coming from both sides, but this time around, assassin in the mid lane. You assume Sheento takes the Pele. That would be my assumption. I think you're giving me the thumbs up as well. Do you think that the Jing way, or the Shoal, I suppose, in this regard, can even match up into that, or are they just going to be playing more passively, sort of trying to, let the assassins do what they want and then fight more towards objectives?
Yeah, I expect to just leave those assassins to do what they want. This Jing, which I assume is going to be played in mid, will be just playing to reset and then walk out or fly out of base, I guess. I think something that I want to focus on for the team fights, though, is Medusa's a very hard or easy to dive character, as you said, and this is a dive comp on the side of the Hounds.
Yep.
When you're playing also a dive comp on your side and your only backliner is Medusa, this is going to be a very difficult job to live as this Medusa into this Hounds comp. There's the wall to cut you off, a lot of half globals, like you said, able to get on top of you, and just a good amount of base damage from that dive.
But if the Atlantis Leviathans don't play defensively, your dash can't get walled off if you're only going forward. Maybe that's the idea here. Say, hey,
You can get walled from the other side.
well, yeah, but that would wall off your aggression, and you're not worried about that. You're just trying to lacerate in for damage. I mean, whenever I see Athena, the ease of execution, it cannot be understated how simple your fight starts. And when it starts like that, usually it puts the Eldritch Hounds immediately on the back foot. Sure, you got to look towards the sky. You have to worry about Thor. You got to worry about Rat. But when you're not looking towards the sky, where are you looking? At Medusa. Oh, boom. That's the game plan. I just broke it down for you.
So, but you
Counter. Go ahead.
No, yeah, no, I have no counter. That's a statement for sure. Definitely a statement by you there. But why is the teammates of the Globals looking into the sky if they want to be looking at Medusa?
What do you mean? You don't want to look at Medusa. That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah,
That's
but you
not
said
good.
they want to be looking to the sky.
So Medusa ult, if you look at her, you get stunned.
Yeah, that's been established. We understand that.
So you don't want to look at her. Because you said you do, and you don't want to do that.
Well, I do.
Well, you're not in game, so it wouldn't stun you.
Yeah.
If you die in the game, you don't die in real life. That's not the rules here.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
You can look at the Medusa ult all you want. All right, support matchup aside, we gotta talk about the Terra. You brought it up. Cursed Ankh sort of shuts down that ultimate. Well, you said it was a decent aggressive support. When Ankh just gets so much value against that ultimate, does Terra, can she even exist in a meta like this? Is she still strong? She's got good early clear, right?
Yeah, the level 3 clear is a lot different. Her level 1, 2, pretty poor. She's basically just playing to hit that level 3, but that level 3 spike, she's got a ton of damage. She's got a ton of CC. Even though Ankh is a very good pick into her, it's not as OP as it used to be because it's not an instant Ankh proc. You're not instantly taking more damage or instantly procking that percent HP damage. It has to wait for those 4 pieces of damage before you actually get that heal. So it's slightly easier into it. But it's still something where if you try to play the Uber backline Terra, where all you do is you just put down your heal, you ult your backliners, yes, you're getting that 5% mitigation, but then that Ankh is going to be taking away that 5% and adding on 10% extra damage taken also.
Is that what it's called? The Uber backline? I had never heard that before.
When you're playing Uber backline.
Yeah, so you're just, you're not engaging and everyone calls it the Uber backline Terra.
Yeah, like front to back, Uber backline.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with the phrase. I just have never heard it, that way. But hey, you have the extra support knowledge that just doesn't come easily to me. So I appreciate you at least giving me that terminology. There's one pick that I've been waiting to talk about and actually haven't brought it up at all because I just really wanted to save this one for last. Kuzenbo. You said Blink, you said Thorns. Is that the only way to play this god?
Blink for sure. I think he's going to have to go the Ankh because this Terra was locked in. So no true Blink Thorns dive. But Blink Ankh is going to be the same amount. It's going to be return damage. Instead of return damage, it's going to be extra damage from that Ankh. I don't know which Ankh he'll pick up. We've seen both the purple and the green Ankh. Do you know the names of them?
Yeah, Drowned Ankh is the one that has been more so on the rise. That's the green one, but everyone has preferred the other one in times of past.
I don't know either of them. That's why I was asking. I have no idea.
I'm just the chair one. I shouldn't know this. Why don't you know this?
Like I knew it from the start. It's Blighted Ankh. That's the other one. They both are very, very strong. It just depends on the game. One, a little bit extra damage taken when you proc that heal. The other one, extra HP damage. Why are you laughing? There's nothing to even laugh about.
You're right. There's nothing funny about Blighted Ankh. That is true. It's just a powerful item.
Yeah, so Kuzenbo is going to be going Ankh. That's what it's going to be.
You don't think there's going to be any Thorns, but he has the shell spikes. It procs so well together, and that's kind of the idea, right? You just dive in with the turtle, and you have a good follow-up.
Unfortunately, you're not able to do the best possible thing all the time. This time you have to build anti-heal because the other team has healing. Happens sometimes.
But can't you just let Ronngyu get the Ankh, right? I mean, Athena's going to be in the back line. She's going to be taunting in.
You think it's Athena in support and Kuzenbo solo.
I guess I didn't think about it that way because,
Yeah, you're chair one. You don't really do much thinking.
The way you said it was that Kuzenbo builds tankier better. From what I've seen, Kuzenbo likes a little bit of damage, You like to build like a Divine Ruin, a Spear of Desolation, maybe a Staff of Mirrodin. Couldn't that possibly be a build path?
Possibly, yes.
But not what you would do.
Okay, let's just... The fact of the matter is, Panda picked a band skin. That's why we're sitting here still diving deeper into these comps. Ankh is going to be good. We're going to see Ankhs built. We're going to have globals on both sides.
I didn't ask you about the Jing Wei yet, though. We have so much more to talk about.
Oh, yeah, let's go into the Jing Wei. She plays. She's going to... Guys, get this. Jing Wei passive. You're going to take some poke. You're going to reset. You're going to fly out of base. You're going to be fast around the map.
Bobby,
you take this, Trully.
I don't care about Jing Wei. I don't care about Kuzenbo. I care about all of them together. 5v5. Leviathans up game one. Let's throw it to game two.
Yeah, let's get right into game number 2 now with the Atlantis Leviathans and the Eldritch Hounds. Leviathans up 1-0 after a devastating defeat for themselves, or against the Hounds. In game number 1, it's J-Mac, Mifflin, and Doug here to bring the action for game number 2 as we finally do get the opportunity to jump into that one. Let me tell you, Miff, Charlie got a bit of the chair 1 treatment there. It says, you're not supposed to think, you're just a chair 1. This is what I experience all the time with these guys. I walk in the room, walk in and work one day, and I was like, just a dumb chair 1. You don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, man, he said that to you?
Get bullied, man, all the
You
time.
shouldn't be telling me in stream. You got to talk to HR, bro.
Yeah. Let me get them on speed dial real quick. Oh, wait, it's the weekend. They're off. I'll have to contact them Monday.
We don't have HR on the weekend, huh?
No, we probably do.
You know what?
Someone I can reach out to.
Let's go all the way back to the beginning of that death segment. Bobby had called for Kuzenbo support, Athena solo.
He was wrong again.
Not only wrong, but he was wrong about power levels too. You want Athena in support just about every single time for the solo lane gank. That's what has made Athena just ridiculous during the laning phase, the ability to get involved on that solo side of the map and turn around those fights consistently. So, having him there means that Ronngyu can farm up normally, can play relatively aggressively in lane, and can also get that ridiculous synergistic combo between Athena and Medusa. That's taunt into Death Gaze? Death Stare?
Petrify.
Petrify.
Death Gaze is Anubis.
That's right. I mean, same thing though.
You
stare
look
at
at
them,
them,
deal
they
damage,
die.
right?
Yeah.
So you turn them around, turn them to stone. Athena, make sure that happens every single time. Been a long time since we've seen this combo though, and even when it was good, it wasn't exactly working super often.
No, I remember when Medusa got released, everybody is immediately theorizing, oh, Athena Medusa, this is going to be the kill combo. Everyone's going to want to play this one.
They were right.
For some instances, they were right, but more often than not, we never really saw the combo itself utilized. It was just the two gods together at that time. You see the
Stuart's
taunt?
in trouble.
You know, an Acid Spray does good damage up against Stu early, and that's always, at least what I've seen as a highlight for Medusa, is just that safe poke. You pop Acid Spray from 30, 40 units away from that wave, and almost every time you're able to get some extra kind of poke damage to somebody, unless Stu's sitting, 50 feet away from the back of the wave.
Yeah, and it is worth noting for the old heads in chat who haven't seen Medusa in a long while, used to be anti-heal on Lacerate. Nowadays, anti-heal on Acid Spray.
That's
so
good.
That is much, much better, especially against a sustain lane like this. Terra healing going to be constant. Soul self-sustain constant as well. After second item, Stuart will likely have Typhons. Acid Spray going to make sure all that not exactly finding value. Man, Oathhh delivered to that tower. Thought maybe if we had a Nene Kappa toss out. Is there like an easier way to say that, or is it Nene Kappa every time?
That's what it is. You can just say the Nene, or just the Kappa.
Man, if he had a little turtle to toss at him right there,
Yeah,
maybe
a
the
little
Oh,
body
turtle
block would have been good. Unfortunately for fineokay, not quite able to completely turn that around.
Knock up just off the mark from Sheento to connect to BennyQ. And I kind of want to go back to this double assassin mid. I mean, you go back week 2, week 3 of the SPL, this is the combo. You get 2 assassins, you get 1 for mid, 1 for jungle, you're running games down. But these last couple of weeks, we haven't really seen not only double assassin, we haven't really seen much of Pele. It feels like a lot of these players and a lot of these mid laners have kind of shied away from this pick over in mid.
Yeah, it's really slowed down a little bit. We've seen the resurgence of maybe some more standard mages. Other assassins have been up on that power ranking as well, but I'm still a pretty big fan of Pele and what she brings. Fumble from the king. Go ahead and put that one on your bingo card. You won't see it too often. Mark it down. Vampiric Bats hits there. That is first blood guaranteed. Benny would have been slowed, taking too much damage. Unfortunate for adapting. I mean, he was handed one there too. Sheento really corralled him.
Now, I will say one thing that's kind of striking as not necessarily news, but kind of shocking to me, is that PandaCat's not going for what we would almost consider a more traditional style of Medusa. When I think of Medusa, I'm thinking the Bluestone Ability Hunter. You're hitting Acid Spray and one of your in-hands that are augmented, and you're hitting for 700-800 damage to somebody come late game with just that combo. Going more the traditional Hunter style of route. Leather Cowl immediately into Devourer's Gauntlets for the lifesteal. Not what we usually see out of Medusas.
No, but we don't usually see Medusa regardless, so
Fair.
whether or not the ability build's all that right now, I'm just not certain that it is. We saw it a little bit at the beginning of the year. Bluestone Bruge, Crusher, Sheento, active. Benny tries, but cannot. First blood delayed a bit because adapting misses out earlier, but Sheento, ever persistent, makes it happen himself. That is not what you want to see from Jing, largely hailed as one of the safest hunters in the game. You don't draft her to fall down. It's tough stuff, but Bobby on the tail end of this highlighted one of her primary strengths. Said when you're poked out, you can just fly back to lane, but same's true when you die.
That's almost like he never died, but except that he did. Immediately back to lane so he doesn't miss out on any of his farm. I think maybe that kill, granted to Sheento, just because BennyQ had like no mana that fight. I was sitting there going, all right, when's he going to airstrike out? When's he going to airstrike out? I look over at the bar, nothing in the blue column, so not able to use anything. Just use his dash to try and escape, but Sheento recognized he's got the damage output and puts up first blood for the Leviathans. Though, looking at that first blood, not a huge swing in gold or anything like that. Last time we're sitting around this point in the game, Leviathans are already on a 1,000, starting to nurse about a 2,000 lead. This time, a little bit tighter on that gold disparity. As Oathhh tries to go for some clear, adapting, can at least take a camp away from him, try to get some poke against Oathhh at the same time.
Yeah, grab the small there. Difference between game 1 and 2 is that adapting had gotten a kill into like 4 buff invade at the 3-minute mark. Pretty difficult to maintain a pace like that, which was an ideal start for the Leviathans. Still in a really good spot though, and I think this time around don't have the same concerns as we had in game 1. Late game initiation, where's it at? I mean, you got multiple places to get things started now for the Leviathans. Kuzenbo, mostly just going to be the Athena. I'm thinking starting your engagement off. So if it does go slightly more even towards that 20-25 minute mark, you're not nearly as stressed about it.
Did see NeilMah trying to steal a camp away from Sheento. Might even try and deny this green buff to him. NeilMah can pull this one out a bit for BennyQ to give him a bit of a hand. Accidentally walks a little too far out of the leash range. BennyQ should be able to help him secure that one. So some buff steals now for the Eldritch Hounds after getting the steal treatment the entirety of game number 1. Finally get exact a little bit of revenge against the Leviathans mid laner. And more than anything, trying to slow down Sheento's farm, because
pretty much ever since Sheento jumped into the league. The number one thing we talk about him is his farm and Oathh's aggression. fineokay actually used the ultimate preemptively, but that's not going to matter. A beads from Oathh means that he's not going to get pushed away, and it's a kill for the Hounds.
Yeah, Oathh checkmates him the second he pops that beads. If beads weren't available, fineokay turns that every single time, but unfortunately Oathh knows his place, knows when to get active. Loses out on both the global and the beads, though. Could put a target on his back. Not exactly high CC between Sheento and adapting, though, so it would mostly be Ronngyu making use, and Ronngyu stuck in the solo lane until we see some of those rotations over towards solo. NeilMah maybe in some trouble here. No ultimate for PandaCat, so we'll simply walk himself away. Small skirmish potential around this shield buff. I'm keeping my eyes on those jungle rotations. Oathh on the way.
Ronngyu does get the taunt on NeilMah. Supernova forced out of Stuart. He'll head back to the tier 1 tower. A wraparound from adapting and Sheento may have just been spotted out enough to where the Eldritch Hounds do not want to continue that fight around there. That's a big win, though, for Ronngyu. Dashed up, gets an ultimate from Stu after the double taunt. Now takes a little bit of that safety away, especially given that there's now no beads for Stu for the next 2.5 minutes as well.
Yeah, we'll see. PandaCat's got his ultimate back up, so Stu needs to play real smart with the separate until that ultimate's available, or those beads come back up. I wonder, can the Leviathans start to put some of that aggression over there? It is worth noting again that Medusa also has really good objective burn thanks to Viper Shot, so potential to look towards Gold Fury off the back of a pick very high, and you can see the idea of the Leviathans adapting, following Ronngyu through the jungle. The Eldritch Hounds know they need to play safe. NeilMah and Stu on that tower line won't be giving over any free opportunities.
Those are going to sit very far back. Looks like they walked over a ward actually just on the bottom side of that shield buff pit potentially. Dash taunt off the mark.
There was trust there.
A bit frustrated off that petrify, turns it around immediately, but fineokay stuck on the wrong side of a Thor while the double assassin's gonna get some damage in, but he pushes Oathh under the tower, gets a lot of damage in return. A dunk down from Ducky, and 2 kills now for the Eldritch Hounds, 1 apiece for each of their assassins.
Man, that Athena ult was so late too. Ronnie starts to channel it in the tail end of fineokay's life. If it's there during the push or during the blue buff fight, things look a little bit different, but distracted on the left-hand side. Perhaps did not see the opportunity. Maybe fineokay doesn't communicate it well. And the Eldritch Hounds keep their pressure on this Kuzenbo. It's a good opportunity to do it now. By the time fineokay finishes second item, I don't think you'll have too many more opportunities like that. It gets a double dip on defense against both his lane opponent and the jungle.
Adapting pulled Gold Fury. Maybe just a heat check to see if anyone walks by. Now recognizing that there is a ward there. It'll immediately be removed by Ronngyu. And instead, just go over to mid camp. Get a little bit of that farm up. It's been quiet. I was going to say, it's been quiet from Sheento ever since his first blood. Tries to go for one up against Oathh, catching him out in the jungle. Doesn't do quite enough damage before Oathh is able to get up onto the tree. That does clear out yet another mid camp now for Leviathans. If there's one thing that they've been able to get some pressure around this game, it has been this both left and right side mid camp that this double assassin is holding on to.
Yeah, Sheento's keeping his pressure up, but has split so much more farm than Benny that even he's starting to fall behind a bit. Ticks to 12 on wave, Benny 12 before killing a single minion there, so good bit of farm over to the Jing way. Global golden experience split between the team, maybe a little bit more effective in that mid 2v2 for the Leviathans, but individually, Oathh getting so much done on map, especially on that right-hand side. He's put his team in a very good position. We haven't really seen Oathh make too many rotations towards mid or left, for that matter. It really is all rooted on the right.
The brunt of the gold lead that the Eldritch Hounds have is comfortably over in Ducky's pocket, about half of that gold lead just for him. And now a rotation in towards the shield buff once more. PandaCat starts it up, pops up that augment, but now Sheento and adapting and rotating in. They spot out BennyQ, get the dash from him right away. Good screech damage from adapting. NeilMah's got a dash away from Panda and Ronngyu. Keeping eyes on a dash taunt. They're starting to group up pretty heavily by the Hounds. That's a 2-man taunt into the petrified. Sheento gets the credit for the kill, but the setup all there for Ronngyu. Adapting will swipe down with the bat out of hell, takes down NeilMah, and 2 dead on the side of the Eldritch Hounds. fineokay able to secure his blue this time and even get the ultimate away from Ducky. And now sets up for a Gold Fury for the 4-stack of Levi's on left.
Yeah, it's such an ill-advised fight for the Eldritch Hounds. I mean, Ronngyu He didn't hide anything. He didn't sneak around, say, I'll catch you with a dash taunt when you're not looking. It was 2 attempts back to back, and the Eldritch Hounds play far too grouped up. This time, PandaCat finds the Petrify, gets the additional damage with the enemies looking at him, and kills them through beads. Oathhh uses his beads there, trying to avoid some of that CC. Does not matter. Still falls down, and now without beads, might be a little while until he gets involved again. That's what I would say, but he's dunking fine, but fine's fine.
And okay. Half his HP still to play with, or more, and a watery grave.
0 risk
Goes
here.
back in just to get a bit of damage on the wave itself. Will push in because he's got Ronngyu as backup, shoved against the wall. Taunts not quite there for Ronngyu. Wants the ideal target, but maybe a bit too much DR for that taunt to really do too much for them. Ronngyu able to bail out fineokay. Not that he necessarily needed all that much help on that side.
No, nearly turned that around on its head. Damage output from Ducky and Oathhh now. Not exactly high enough. Very low damage build from Ducky. Hammer into breastplate. I mean, he's tanky. He's got utility. Hasn't exactly got the damage, though. And fineokay going double defense. Might just be outscaling based on kit alone. Gets that second bit of help from his Nene Kappa every single time. Small skirmish. The left-hand side, but NeilMah alone might die alone.
Half health. Does get the dash. Taunt not there to stop it this time, but control of the beacon now for the Leviathans. Game 1, the Hounds had complete control on this cap. Didn't really let the Leviathans get a chance to take it, or maybe more so the Leviathans just letting them have that little bit of farm on the map. But now with those couple of kills, the Leviathans have actually completely closed up that goal. What was 1,500 up for the Eldritch Hounds. About a 2K swing after those 2 kills and a Gold Fury that went to the Leviathans. A nice swing back from a bit of a rougher early game.
Oh, dash taunt mid, catches Benny. Screech is there, but Benny on tower line and still with airstrike should just be fine. This is the strength of Athena, barring even just the rotations from Soul Lane, which are ridiculous, by the way. It's this dash taunt on cooldown, constant threat. You've got so much damage, ranged, unblockable damage on the side of the Leviathans thanks to that Pyroclast, that dash taunt, 50% of someone's HP. Let's see what we can do on map. And that's going to be a consistent through line, I think, for the next few minutes. Until eventually there's enough damage behind the taunt that you're just getting the kill. I mean, want to take a Pyroclast? Give me 20% of Oathh's HP.
I don't think you want to take any damage from the Leviathans at this stage. Even PandaCat has rotated over towards mid. Wants to get some control around this Pyromancer, but he's going to lose out on his tower on left. Stu's sticking by. Make sure that first tier 1 in the game goes his way. Sheento rotates over to Soul Lane. Getting towards Ducky. He's already used his hammer now. Sheento blinks the wrong way. Ducky able to get up into the sky this time, but close call for him. Down to a quarter HP. Sheento on the hunt is a dangerous player to try and run into in the jungle. As Oathhh strips away a green buff. Ronngyu thought he pulled it far enough back. Oathh's able to use that Acorn Blast to steal it away. And Ducky, he came. Wait, did Ducky just not go back to base? Sheento nearly body blocked in tower by fineokay. Walks up, throws the turtle, and a little bit more damage after. A kill for Fino in the solo, but a tier 1 for the Hounds in mid.
Yeah, Ducky sticks around far too long on the right-hand side. Perhaps thinking there'd be rotations from the Leviathans to mid to stop that push. Simply not the case. Sheento, persistent, wants his kill. Keep your eyes on this one. Ronnie's here.
Frenzy's already been used. The Petrify on top of Oathhh. NeilMah will be the first one down in this fight. And BennyQ's gone the opposite direction. Splits up the path from Oathhh. But can BennyQ get back in? Now he's realized that PandaCat and Adapting are chasing him. Might just have to be a turn and fight as much as he can. Now with 3 nearby, he's as good as cooked. It's Sheento. Killing spree now for Leviathan's mid laner.
Yeah, Ducky has the teleport to get back and involved. So Fire Giant, maybe not a good idea, especially with Stuart making the rotation. Instead, find your kill, find a little bit of farm in the jungle. fineokay being as annoying as possible. Good stuff from the Leviathans once more. Ronnie using that Defender of Olympus just to get out of base, get involved, get active around that Pyromancer fight. Have not seen the strength of the counter engage just yet from the Eldritch Hounds. It's one of Terra's strongest suits. If you're going to force the fight every time, Earth and Fury is going to make it difficult for it to work. But there have been answers. It's the drown into Ankh, as the desk had called for. Locked in there for Ronngyu. So it's dash taunt Ankh. Good luck.
Leviathans give themselves another Fury. Oni Fury this time. While not super valuable this early in the game, just getting that Fury off the map and resetting for the next one. Always a strong idea. where do the Leviathans go? Pyromancer's down, already been taken earlier on. NeilMah holding on to that one in pocket for the Hounds. Fire Giant be a bit too early this time, so I would have picked a fineokay, but fineokay presses the 4 button, dashes away, pulls NeilMah away from the rest of the team. Ducky up to the sky, but where does he even dunk down? It's in the middle of 2, tries to deal with Sheento, gets about half of his health, forces Sheento back until they're from NeilMah, and a death on a fineokay. Petrify only hits NeilMah though, and he's not taking a whole lot of damage. That mitigation working so strong for the Eldritch Hounds and keeping them healthy in this fight.
Yeah, fineokay overcommits to that fight. Doesn't realize Ducky had completely zoned all the backup coming his way. Great target selection from the Thor. Prevents every single one of those pushes from finding any value. Instead, falls down. Takes too much damage from Benny on the tail end. Earthen Fury does find its value there as Ronngyu is not in range of the Yonk. So everybody on the Hounds, tanky and healing, take their team fight and walk themselves out of there. Keeping it a very close game here, J-Mac. Next objective team fight might just be the swing point for either one of these teams. So much burn potential on the side of the Hounds. One pick, I mean, we're in Fire Giant territory.
Taunt onto Stu. Beads and Supernova. The immediate response back. Now Stuart without that CC immune safety, even had to use the Saprate just to get back under tier 1 tower. Will sustain up nicely, does have Telkines, Typhons, natural sustain in Soul's kit, so he'll be healthy for come the next engagement, but it's not going to be around the beacon. Rongyu's already there, capping that point with nobody else in sight. Everyone from the Eldritch Hounds has gone back to their respective lanes. Even BennyQ actually leaving mid lane for a little bit. Split pushing over onto the left side, making sure to keep PandaCat at bay. So now 2 beacons down, next one in, spawns up the Titans, but last game, when we were getting Titan spawn in, that's when Leviathans were pushing into the base. We are nowhere near that level of time just yet.
No, not yet. I'm keeping my eyes on PandaCat. Just makes his way back to base. Looks to me like the Leviathans wanting to force a fight around that Pyromancer. Eldritch Hounds gonna need to play quick here if they want to get in range. It's spawning very fast. Stuart's on the wrong side of the map for it on defense. Oathhh will get there quickly with Global, but maybe not fast enough. Ward dealt with. Fire Giant pick controlled by the Order side. And Ronngyu has got that dash charged up. Dash taunt, poke someone out. So long as it isn't Benny, you'll find the value.
Man, Ducky, every single time he thinks he's good enough and away from fineokay, Sheento wraps around the corner, chunks him down for about 60% of his health. Pyromancer started by the Leviathans, down to about 25%. Reset. Taunt misses from Ronngyu. Petrify there just in case. Leviathans get Pyromancer, and NeilMah goes back to try and zone fineokay away from the rest of the team. Objective goes the way of the Leviathans. Had that taunt connected, we might have seen a bit more of a team fight break out.
I believe it does at least hit Oathhh. Oathhh pops the beads, which was a crazy blink, too, from Oathhh to try and get involved there. I would think catches Ronngyu a bit off guard. Why is this rat blinking on me? Why is this non-tank rat blinking in front of me? Hits the taunt, gets the beads. Now Oathhh, without that defensive relic, gonna have to play very safe. NeilMah, how'd you get here, bud?
Uses his second dash. Taunt should be available for Ronngyu in just a moment. Blink by adapting to NeilMah. There's going to be one dead support for the Eldritch Hounds. PandaCat credit for that one. Ducky's up in the sky. Who is his dunk target? Is it just back to safety and inside of his own tower?
Really?
Blue buff stolen by Fine. And the Fire Giant now kicked off by the Leviathans. Ducky's already used his ultimate just to get away at this time. Oathhh has already gone back to base. The Leviathans might just be getting this Fire Giant for free. I'm not even sure that the Hounds even know this is happening.
Yeah, the Hounds are losing out on too many resources before the fight. That is, I believe, the 3rd engagement in a row now where Ducky goes up to the air for his own safety. Benny forced to airstrike defensively. Oathhh doesn't have beads, so you know he's not playing aggressive. Instead, tries to get as much done as possible on map. He's the one that pushes out those right side waves so far. Rotates over to the gold and cuts their losses a bit on the Hounds. The Hounds need to find something in these team fights. So much of their team fight on the side of the Hounds is contingent on Stu being there. And for the most part, Stu hasn't been. Oathhh. Defensive ultimate once more, and fineokay wouldn't, right? He's got Blink, but he wouldn't.
No, he would.
He doesn't see him. No, he's out.
Doesn't spawn him around the corner. By the way, that was while Oathhh was all channeling the ultimate, that damage goes through. That is
Pele.
such a tiny time frame to go through, but adapting has got escape from
jump.
3 of the Hounds. Beads gets so much value, not only the Thor wall, but the stun after from NeilMah. He's able to jump over the wall back to safety. Not fun to use your resources, but when you get that much value from one singular beads pop, it's got to feel at least half decent for adapting as he rotates back to base and the rest of his team up towards left side.
Play carefully here, though. It's just Ronngyu and PandaCat fighting together. fineokay will keep the junglers at bay. I say plural, Thor and Rat on the Eldritch Hounds, holding it down in that neutral territory. The Leviathans, nonplussed. Just keep their siege up. There's been very little fight back from the Eldritch Hounds when there's actual dedicated aggression from the Leviathans. Seen it again here. NeilMah throws out a stun, but Stu's playing just for the wave. Oathhh not up to the air. Leviathans are so split to the winds. You'd think the Eldritch Hounds, if they could just choose a spot to put that aggression, 5-stack it, leverage that global presence from Oathhh and Ducky, force a fight while the Leviathans are split up. Instead, slow rolling, and it's slow work knocking down these tier 2s.
Fino and Sheento do a tier 2 in mid. fineokay gonna tank that one up, but Ducky's up to the sky. His target should be on the left side. Finds the dunk on adapting. No beads for the bat this time. Makes for an easy combo for Ducky and the Hounds, but now it's Sheento trying to escape back out or try to get into this fight. One down already with Ronngyu and PandaCat as well. It's going to be a 2 versus 5, and Sheento's got plenty of damage. He and Fino might just be able to do it. It's a triple kill already for Sheento. No ultimate to chase out this time, but fineokay can keep Ducky busy all the while. Ducky hammers out while Sheento might just have to give up the chase on the Rat. Oathhh is trying to play a dangerous game with the Pele, but it's not a game that you want to play this close to the chest. It's 4 for Sheento. Leviathans in the 2v5 come up massive.
Man, Sheento does it all there. The Eldritch Hounds execute on my poorly conceived plan. All in on the left-hand side. Leverage those globals. Have Ducky and Oathhh outnumber the Leviathans. And it looks good until you remember Sheento's waiting in the wings with all that damage output. And all that without Bloodforge, too. It's just damage in the build. I think the only way the Eldritch Hounds is going to win out cleanly on a team fight is if you start with Sheento. That AoE from Pele, the damage output, the expediency with which he deals it. And there needs to be an answer, and it has to come early. But initiation again, almost entirely coming from Ducky here, from the Eldritch Hounds. NeilMah can get things started, but Terra's a little bit less consistent. The root will hit every single time. The stun, not so much. The root's not enough. I think it's got to be dunks from Ducky or Oathhh. They need to be on Sheento in the future.
Problem I'm seeing that the Hounds might run into, though, Myth. Well, not just Ducky who gets taunted back. It's just fineokay nearby, so he should be fine. But I'm looking down the board at the Eldritch Hounds. There's not a single ounce of anti-heal from this team. There's no onk from NeilMah to try and fight back.
Call out.
None of Oathhh doesn't have a brawler speed stick. Ducky couldn't build into it. I mean, you can maybe build into a defensive anti-heal, but there's just no answer for him right now. They're just free healing.
Yeah, adapting, so much sustaining kit. PandaCat's healing on every auto attack. Sheento is Soul Leader. You're right. There's a lot of things that need adjustment here on the Eldritch Hounds. Target selection and itemization. Certainly a bit suspect here. At least up brawlers. At least one aura item. There's got to be something. Watch Sheento in the next fight. His HP, it'll be volatile, up and down, but it'll happen quickly.
fineokay stunned out twice. Once by Ducky, once by Neil. Able to get the push towards NeilMah. But there's so many people invested into fineokay. They're leaving Oathhh to 1v1 Sheento, and that's not a 1v1 I'd want to take. Ducky dunks in. Doesn't find anything but a stun against Ronngyu this time. Eldritch Hounds grouping up around fire, but they've used so many resources to fineokay, they don't have anything for the next portion of the fight.
You see Oath's HP?
Yeah.
That's one Pyroclast. And that was like 30 seconds ago. He's been HP 5 and up for a little while now. Yeah, I'm thinking Sheento is a major problem, and he cannot go unaddressed. Ronngyu leading the charge. PandaCat, first point of contact, puts a little damage in. I don't think the Hounds could take the fight here. Not with the Leviathans 5-stack. Just let that Titan go, play defense on the tier 2.
only person who's full build at the moment is Sheento. By the way, he didn't have the Titan's Bane for that last fight. That was still with a Party Punch in hand before. Now, hitting even harder and starting up the Fire Giant one more time for the Leviathans. Ducky has ult, so does Oathhh. They got 2 dunk targets to jump on in, but neither of them pulling the trigger just yet. It's only fineokay trying to zone. Gets the push onto Benny, takes his beads away in a watery grave to disrupt everything. Ducky goes up to the sky, but the Leviathans have gave up the objective. They're going for the fight instead. Both semi-globals from the Hounds now down on the fight.
Yeah, Stu's not there, which means there's no damage there for the Eldritch Hounds either. Every single bit of their semi-global presence used defensively. NeilMah in first, and the Fire Giant's jumping them!
Pulled into the damage, the CC. Sheento in the back line doing all the work with adapting. Takes down 1, takes down 2, just in the back, and then NeilMah at the front end of it all. 3 gone from the Eldritch Hounds. The Leviathans go right back to fire and grab it for all 5.
All the while, where is Stuart? If you're playing for the objective, you need your mage there for steal or damage. I don't care if NeilMah hits a 5-man stun into a 5-man Earthen Fury, into a 5-man Root, all stacked on top of each other. If Stu's not there to follow up, there's nothing that they could do about it. Benny tries to walk forward. Oathhh tries to walk forward. There's just this disjoint on the Eldritch Hounds. It doesn't seem like they agree.
Stun off the wall from Ducky. Gets 2, but the whole team is split up. Stuart, no more ult, no more beads. Those are gone. And Ducky nearly. He's got up to the sky and has to go right back to the fountain. Leviathans take 3 lives, 2 Phoenixes, Fire Giant, and only now will hit the brakes for a moment to go back and spend up the over 10,000 gold sitting in their pockets.
Man, that is just a really unfortunate sequence of events for the Eldritch Hounds. You could see it, a clear delineation between when the fights were kind of working to where they have completely fallen apart, and it's once the Leviathans were allowed to deathball. Once Sheento was this solo agent on the map willing to trade his HP as a resource because there's no anti-heal to counter him. He'll just walk up to a wave, hit it once, and be full HP again. Ronngyu always hitting even the tankier targets. Even when he connects with Ducky on the Confound, it's Ducky immediately to the air. Oh, where'd our initiation go? He delivered himself to the fountain, needed it, or he would have died. It just feels like the Eldritch Hounds, they're not playing with any confidence right now. When's the last time we saw Ducky go in aggressively or Oathhh go in aggressively? We saw NeilMah try on the Fire Giant, but he did so alone. We need Stuart in these fights. Just have not seen enough from the double hunter composition. Both Benny and Stu struggling in the PvP right now. I mean, 8,000 damage from a soul, 30 some odd minutes in. It's a bit criminal.
Just haven't seen too much from Stu. Too much from the Hounds as a
And here's the thing, man. I don't even think that matters. I'm going to be honest.
He's got like 20% CDR, and if he has a Potion of Power, throw another 10%, he can just wait that out for the next Phoenix at this point.
It'll be back up. We got to get the minion wave up there too. 60 seconds. Yeah, it's fine.
Still got Fire Giant for another minute almost after that.
Oh, hold on. It might matter. It might matter a little bit. Well, if we're playing this fast.
We're pushing up. It's the last Phoenix that the Eldritch Hounds have left to defend. Leviathan's adapting a bit in danger. fineokay there to bail him out. To turn and burn back. Ducky up to the sky. Left side Phoenix with 1 hit left to go down from any of the hunters. Sheento, anybody, somebody just taps it, and it will collapse in. But now it's 5 Leviathans pushing up to the Hounds. With fire minions moving in, the Eldritch Hounds can sit back and turtle inside their base.
Yeah, Ducky, I think, the clear target here. No beads, no ultimate. Even if he is a tank, if everybody's hitting him, would be a struggle. Sheento isolated on left. Peppers in some damage, but keep your eyes on Ronngyu. That's where the fight's going to start.
Ronngyu starts it up right. Adapting takes down Stu instantly. Oathhh got to use the ultimate to get back to the fight. The Titan already down to a quarter HP. The Leviathans could care less about the fight. Let's get a couple kills while we can. 2 for adapting, a killing spree at the end, but it's a 2-0 for the Leviathans in the set.
Man, the Hounds are losing out on just pressure. The Leviathans, it's a much faster early game. The games are going a bit longer, but they're getting so much done in the first 20 that by the time we're at the 30-minute mark, it feels like the Hounds just have nothing left. How are you going to play into this 8, 9, 10,000 gold deficit? How do you feel about these 2-item deficits on each individual role? You feel bad, very clearly. But mostly, and for the most part, I think it's a confidence issue from the Eldritch Hounds. We do not see proactive plays. Gotta play to win. I'm seeing a whole lot of play not to lose instead of play to win.
And I think the biggest one that you called out multiple times. Need to see Stu do something. Stu just felt like he existed in that game, and I'm not even sure if he actually existed in that game. I think the game existed around him at that point, just in his own little bubble over on that island. Got to see a little bit more fight back from the Eldritch Hounds in game number 3. We'll take us to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
I've been giving you the worst of me, 'cause I can tell you a thirsty beat. Look how the stars got you worshiping. You wanna slide, go to work, baby, on the sea, and it be just like it's in your dreams. Don't stop till it's head to feet. You wanna slide, go to work, baby, Damn it, boy, I'm tired of nights. When I'm talking, better look in my eyes. You ain't a saint, you ain't nothing like Christ. Stop pretending that you know I'm on. Then below with all of this ice. It be dripping like you do when you cry. On your knees, but you're looking for rice. I'm a jawbreaker, I'm not your wife. I've been giving you the worst of me, 'cause I can tell you a thirsty beat. Look how the stars got you worshiping. You wanna slide, go to work, baby, on the sea, and it be just like it's in your dreams. Don't stop till it's head to feet. You wanna slide, go to work, baby, I know that you love you a slice, but all you got is regular fries. Sorry, boy, you can't make the price, and I got business somewhere a fly. I know you trying to do it alright, and I don't wanna squeeze you too tight, but I can help, I like what I like, yeah. And I ain't about to let you find
And after a dominant game number 2, the Leviathans pull ahead 2-0 versus the Eldritch Hounds. Trelly, you got inbound on the desk to break this one down, and to me, it seemed like Sheento could do no wrong that game. I mean, we were wondering what happened to these assassin mids. Are they even still going to be strong? What about a meta where everyone builds breastplate? Well, it turns out if you go Jing and you can't build breastplate, Sheento's going to get a solo kill and then just be able to run the game from there.
Yeah, these assassins still look very strong. Curious to see if this means that other teams are going to be looking towards these assassins also. The sets looked great. The Pele's looked great. And he still hasn't even had to go and play the Kama yet. He's been playing just the 2 more top-tier assassin mids. So, not Panatom. Sheento is playing his own meta at this point. The assassin mids have kind of fallen off everywhere else, but not for him. He still looks great on them, and they still do look great.
And we got to see fineokay on the Kuzenbo solo. We were curious about, the difference between this Athena and the Kuzenbo. The fineokay was essentially just W King. That's kind of how you play this composition. It did just seem like from the get-go, the draft, if it was able to make it to late game, was going to be very difficult to deal with. When I see Sheento buying a 3K pot, I mean, last game it was at like 26 minutes and he hadn't sold the party punch yet. This game, 28 or 29 minutes and he had full Titan's Bane. I mean, they were just waiting. The Leviathans just waited for Sheento to show up to these fights and just volcanic lightning pretty much everyone. As far as the Eldritch Hounds go, they weren't allowed to get too much going for themselves. It seemed like Stuart really wasn't grouping up to some of these fights. I know that was a talk from the casters about, if you're defending Fire Giant, if you're grouping up as a team to say, hey, we're going to try and defend this, you're going to need some of that soul damage. You're going to need the whole squad grouped up together. It just didn't seem like they were on the same page.
And the dive of this Levi's was just too strong. The Hounds really weren't diving in return, and they weren't really playing front to back either. It's kind of just a mess for most of those team fights. The one team fight they did win, they did what they needed to do. They took down the targets not named Sheento. Sheento, even though he didn't die a single time in this entire game, game, he was still doing insane amounts of getting in there and taking these fights. It's not like he was avoiding a lot of these fights. He was getting in there. 27,000 damage by Sheento, 23 by fineokay, 20 by Panda. And we were a little worried about the Medusa, the ability to survive in a lot of these late game fights. And that didn't seem to be a problem. As I just said, there's also just a late game dive on this Thor, this rat, but they just still weren't able to kill the Medusa.
Yeah, I mean, the itemization was just not there as well. I mean, Sheento adapting Panda, all full statted. Recipes weren't sold. I think Oathhh still had a tier 1 towards the end there, so gold certainly hurting as well for the Eldritch Hounds. So, you're the Eldritch Hounds. You're down 2-0. The Leviathans have been not threatened much so far this set. Are you even looking to, come back from the sweep, or are you just trying to make a dent? I mean, they haven't really been able to translate any sort of late-game team fights. Surely the draft needs to be switched up a bit as we go into picks and bans.
Yeah, the draft definitely has to switch up a little bit. You're still confident that you can win the set, but it's going to start with the first game. This third game right here is the one that matters. If you lose it, the set's over. If you win it, you keep playing SMITE. Levi's sticking with the same bans from the second game. So far, I guess there's only been one ban, but Olo banned by the Levi's. We've not seen too much Olo either, but it seems like the Levi's still somewhat prioritize it because they want it banned.
I mean, it's so easy to do a throwaway ban in this spot when you know that you can get the Raijin, you can get the Yamoja, you can get the Athena, the Cherno. There's just so many picks that you can grab in that first pick selection. So why not go to number 1, something that Stuart would feel confident on, but also something that's not that highly prioritized. Still, top pick potential, but not something the Leviathans are looking for. With the Eldritch Hounds banning that Camazotz, though, that already creates an interesting conversation where, Yamoja, Cherno, Athena, that's already 3 gods that could be let through. The Leviathans aren't going to ban any of those. They're going to stick with the Outwash. So the Eldritch Hounds, they could be put in a similar position we were talking about last game, where you have Yamoja, you have Athena. Do you ban one and leave them both open? That's what we theorized, and no, they just banned the Yamoja. So we'll have to see if the Eldritch Hounds make a similar decision this time around, because it would be Ronngyu piloting that Yamoja again, and they already showed that's something they don't want to see.
And also, along with that Athena and Yamoja available, the Raijin. So there's 4 of those, I guess, top-tier gods right now. Levi's don't have to ban one. They have the opportunity to here. They banned the Thor. Now, the Hounds comp last game maybe didn't flow too well, but I think the mid game and some of the earlier portions of the late game, I think Duck actually played really well in this Thor. A lot of that early game kind of came from him and being able to get kills on the fineokay. Throwing away that Thor ban kind of takes away probably the better performer or one of the better performers from the Hounds last game, and now it's making him play something else. I like that as a throwaway ban. So we still have those 4 top tier gods up. Pele banned away, 3 assassin. I'm gonna say assassin mids banned because they all can be played in mid. They do have some jungle capabilities, but a lot of target bans against Sheento, and they leave up the Chernobog. Chernobog nearly snap blocked. What a great first pick.
Raijin Umoja, gotta be, right? There's a reason they banned the Umoja last time. They value it more than the Athena. It's gotta be Raijin Umoja. I can't imagine anything else being picked here. The Athena still does carry that weight, but again, when the Eldritch Hounds had their choice, they let the Athena through and didn't even try to take, the Umoja or the Athena in that spot. So I really do think that it would have to be that Raijin Umoja here. If not, one of those, if not both, will be picked up by the Atlantis Leviathans almost immediately. The only thing they can be talking about is do they value Athena or Umoja more? And took them a little bit longer than I would have, but yeah, that is going to be the selection. Now the Leviathans get to take Cherno, they get to take Athena, and you'd think one more assassin before the next wave of bans, but if the Pele, the Set, and the Camazotz are gone, not much else that I would think for Sheento to go to in the mid lane at the very least.
Baba. That's just kind of like the leftover god in mid. It's not an assassin mid, and it's not the style that they've been playing. They like those dive characters. But Baba is just the best mid laner available up. But they're actually putting the Chernobog in mid, and they're going to be putting that Soul over into ADC. So not the Baba. They're going to be sticking with this aggressive mid laner, because when Sheento is on this Chernobog, it is hit level 5. And if you can ult over, you will. Otherwise, wait for that trans and then start to look to make plays. He looks to play aggressively on this Chernobog, almost like an assassin. And to pair with that, the Athena Soul. A lot of globals on the side of the Levi's.
So gross, man. And that's the thing. If the Eldritch Hounds, when you go behind, which unfortunately twice now in this set they have been in that spot, you try to go for some AFK farm. You try to just, push some waves when you think you're safe. Chernobog and Athena can just show up in an instant, no matter what. Any fight the Eldritch Hounds take is not going to be in their favor. Even if it's a 1v1, a 2v2, they're going to be able to fly in, of course. And because, the Chernobog's in mid, it's not even going to be that duo lane. Even if you fight near the duo to say, hey, we're going to get rid of some of those globals, Chernobog is likely going to Sheento in mid, so he can fly to either side of the map. Very scary top 3. I'm going to be honest with you, Bobby. The Leviathans have really put themselves in a great spot to try and 3-0 here.
And I think the Levi's picks and bans today have been near flawless. I think they've been outmaneuvering the Hounds at nearly every spot. They've been picking very, very strong gods. And they've left not great gods to the Hounds. The Hounds, not this game per se, but the other games, kind of left with just like leftover gods. This game, a lot better picks. Raijin Umoja, outstanding. Anhur, a lot of pressure in that duo lane. And with the bans on the second phase, Baba, Tiamat for the Levi's, Hounds going with the Morgan and the Morgan.
Nice.
Morgan Le Fay and the Morgan. Yeah, both of those getting banned away. I guess that's is that the Morgan a shot at fineokay? Are they worried about fineokay playing solo?
I guess
the
so.
Morgan?
I guess so. I mean, that would be the only reason a god like that takes a ban here, because you don't assume that Cherno or the Soul are going over towards him. Merlin, maybe the pickup here for the Eldritch Hounds. And I know I harped a lot on the Leviathan's composition, but it's not to say the Eldritch Hounds got the table scraps, right? Raijin, definitely one of the top pick solo laners in the meta currently. Umoja, instant pressure in duo lane. Pair that with an Anhur, someone who wants to get active early, look for some fights. Not going to be a bad look either. The Merlin is really the only pick so far that hasn't been top of the top tier list, but BennyQ just loves to go to this pick when he can get his hands on it. And it's going to be the Anubis lock-in. Is this just to counter out the Raijin in solo lane, or do you think it goes to a different lane?
I think I've got to assume it's in the solo lane. I don't know entirely how that lane is going to go, but if you think about Raijin, what he wants to do, he wants to push, poke you down. Who's going to be getting poked down more? The Anubis, who's going to be going, assumedly, Bancroft's first item, or the Raijin, who's stuck with Pythags, or even if he does go over to the Pythag, still a ton of sustain in Anubis passive. And there's kill potential there with the 2-3 ult combo. I guess there's some kill potential by the Raijin also, but you really think about it, when it gets to level 5 on comps, we've got double global on the Levi side. There's so much peel out if the Anubis gets gone on.
Yeah, and even if the Anubis doesn't get gone on, I mean, Taiko Drums is the biggest target you need for an Anubis ultimate, right? That is the reason that I've been bringing this up a lot. I've seen a few Anubis pickups into Raijin in the past 2 weeks or so. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you can't Aegis when you're in Taiko Drums, and you can't miss. Like, there is just no way that you're not getting full value from the laser eyes in that situation. So we'll have to see how that matchup goes through. Of course, Raijin builds a bit tankier. I can't imagine you're building too much defense on the Anubis. But with that, the Awilix is back as well. Ratatoskr going to be the last pick for the Eldritch Hounds, rounding off the jungle. We already saw what adapting can do with an early game Awilix. Does this game look like the same sort of style? I mean, there's a lot of leaps. The Emojas can be riptiding people away. That seems pretty rough for anyone to go into an Awilix here.
Yeah, I think this is another fantastic draft by the Levi's. Front to back, just gorgeous. It has good early game, good scaling into the late game. Their weakness is going to be Anubis getting ganked, but they've thought that through with these globals they have on their side.
It's true.
And Awilix really provides a lot of kill potential into that lane. A blink knockup, and Raijin will die before he even hits the ground. He doesn't even have the ability to jump away unless he pre-beats. So scary, scary comp from the Levi's. But you look at the team fight potential of this Eldritch Hounds comp. So much poke potential, so much area control. We haven't seen a ton of Merlin recently. That early, that mid game, not what you're playing for with Merlin.
No.
You want to get to that level 20. If this Hounds team can live that early game, can make it to that late game portion, this is a very scary team fight. But this Hounds potential to snowball this game is insane. Or
Yeah.
sorry, the Levi potential.
Well, the Hounds seem like they have tried to get through the early game pretty well. I mean, Ratatoskr, one of the best early game jugglers, along with the Awilix. You have Yamoja and Anhur, who are going to insta-clear triple buff, show up to lane with kill potential. You'd think they would be able to, go for some aggression against the Soul Athena. Not to say that there's one lane that wins out, but Yamoja just has such good early clear. And there's a reason that Anhur has been coming back in as that number 2 selection in the ADC role, and the Chernobog's not available, and the Soul is not available, and in this case, the Oleron's been banned away, because there's just so much early potential for kills. If you're hitting those impales, getting that extra pen, Anhur should have a good time here. So, do you think the Eldritch Hounds, Oathhh in particular, should spend some time over in duo lane and try and get Stuart online? I mean, if you're picking Anhur, you want to fight in the early, right?
Yeah, I think Oathhh has to make a mental note that he needs to be playing towards this duo lane. This is your early game. It is playing through solo, or playing through duo, playing through the Anhur, playing through this Rat. You also have Yamoja potential there also. If Oathhh plays kind of like how he's been doing today, where he plays kind of a little bit more farming style, trying to hit 5, and then looking for maybe a couple ganks in solo, that's not going to work out too well for this game. Yes, you need to put a little bit of pressure in solo because you can't have that Anubis just win that 1v1. A lot of pressure onto Oathhh. It's not an easy job to ask when you have to play around so many lanes, but it's on him because there's so many globals are on the other side.
I mean, that's the issue, right? Even if Oathhh finds a nice gank to try and find, it's a 1v1, it's maybe a 2v1. Chernobog could fly in, Athena could fly in. That could be some scary stuff. 3-0 potential here for the Leviathans. Can the Eldritch Hounds stop it? Let's find out.
And the Eldritch Hounds have got to find a way to slow down the Atlantis Leviathans, but also be able to find a lead against them. Because game number 1, it was a breakneck pace by the Leviathans. Game number 2, while still slower, not really a lead build-up for the Hounds. We'll see if they can do something here in game number 3. It's J-Mac Mifflin and Doug here to bring the action for that third game. Now on match point, the Eldritch Hounds gonna go back to a staple for BennyQ. This Merlin always seems kind of creep back for him whenever the team's on the back foot, need something a bit safe to kind of go towards. And I think maybe we're trying to win a bit back of favoritism from the crowd. 83% to the Leviathans. That's one of the larger disparities in a Twitch poll we've seen in a long time.
You know why? You want to know why it's so big, man? There's an Athena and a Chernobog on the same team. How did that happen? And it's not just Athena, it's not just Chernobog. They got Soul as well. I don't care about the Awilix or the Anubis, like, at all. I think it's so insane that the Eldritch Hounds gave over such a composition to the Leviathans. Looking at the Hounds draft, early game, I mean, you could play through the duo lane, not going mid. You could probably go solo a few times. Camping fineokay, a great option when he's playing something as immobile as this Anubis. But it just feels like so much is going to be simplified for the Leviathans once Ronngyu gets out of duo. And that's generally that 10-minute mark, it seems like nowadays. Athena taunt into easy knockups for adapting. Just turn away from the Awilix, all of a sudden you've got the knockup every single time. Gravity Surge will be there. Or have fineokay just immediately channel Death Gaze. It's going to be such a difficult team fight to play into for the Eldritch Hounds that it almost feels similar to Game 1. Hounds got to get involved now.
On adapting fire from BennyQ. That's enough to burn through for first blood for the Eldritch Hounds. Sheento going to stand his ground and fight, and he has all right to do so. Beats out the stun. It's not enough for the enhance. Sheento needs a few more on both Benny and Oathhh. The Pierce is there. The fire response back from Benny. Sheento not able to turn this one around, but he puts them both low. Might send Benny and Oathhh back to base.
Oathhh still has the stun available. No beads here for Sheento's in an overstay. Auto attack is there, and Oathhh knocks him down. Disrespect from the Leviathans, but adapting's back.
Gets the blink, gets the knock him and the feather step afterwards. Might not have even needed that necessarily, but a turnaround for the Leviathans. 1 kill each for the Eldritch Hounds. That first blood to Benny, and then right after for Oathhh, but a fast response back from adapting on a respawn. Just treks his way all the way back into the jungle to get a kill for himself.
Yeah, had nowhere else to go. Needed to collect some of that farm. Unfortunately for him, there was a wave and a low enemy god to knock down. Benny holds on to beads though, so next rotation won't be as easy for adapting, whereas Sheento, having lost his, means that Oathhh could circle back, try and make it happen all over again. Stun no good this time, but feels a little dangerous, don't it? Sheento's not exactly super safe just yet. Does have access to dash, I believe. Had an opportunity to put a point into it, so should be a good deal safer now.
The pressure that we've been looking for over in dual lane from the Hounds, not quite there right now.
Whole level down.
PandaCat and Ronngyu able to hold them under tier 1 tower. And already, by the way, by minute 20, minute 25, minute 30, PandaCat had removed both of the Bastions of Duo. Oathhh going to keep up his aggression.
Huh?
Knocking from adapting does hit Oathhh. Stun in response back. And the damage from
he
Ducky, not quite enough. Can fineokay have any kind of return fire? No, it's level 5 for Ducky. Taunts it back in, gets the beads from the Anubis. Adapting lives. fineokay, no more beads. The Eldritch Hounds have found their aggression.
It's a dangerous situation for both teams there. fineokay confirms that blue buff. Would have been enough to tick over to level 5, and Death Gaze may have been enough to knock down Oathhh, who had just used the dart. Instead, it's Ducky that ticks to 5 off of blue and forces the beads away from the Anubis. Clear targets for Oathhh. Hasn't ticked to 5 yet, but once he's got access to it, they can hop up into the tree, dunk down onto an Anubis, make things look easy.
We'll have the dual lane of the Leviathans so far as the 1 point that's standing tall against the Hounds. Do you see a rotation from adapting that direction as well? So maybe could look to get aggressive. Level 5 for adapting. Beads are up for Stu. Nothing for NeilMah. Taunt in is good. The knockup. Pull him back with the gravity surge. Neil's out of mana. The feather step goes right over the wall. PandaCat with the supernova will take him down. The Leviathans have answered back with an extra kill.
Yeah, PandaCat, real casual, like circles back through after collecting that shield buff for himself and knocks down NeilMah. Good bit of aggression there from adapting and Ronngyu together. Turn things around. That is a tough situation again. NeilMah now without beads means that he's got a target on his back. Ducky, we missed it, also loses his beads to fineokay in the 1v1, so adapting can be known in either side lane for the next 2 or so minutes. Man, that is a really big stopper to the aggression, too. The Eldritch Hounds got off to such a good start towards the center of the map, and they still are nursing leads here or there. About a half level, maybe whole level for Benny, but Oathh's lead just about non-existent now. Adapting's closed that up a good deal.
fineokay does go back to base. Still picks up the Pythax piece, which was one of the things that was questioned on the desk as to where he goes with his build. Adapting not happy that Oathhh has stolen his buff away.
The beads.
Oathhh not realizing that the ult isn't available for adapting. Beads is a little bit late. Feather step is good. BennyQ there to try and bail him out, but Sheento has crashed right back in. And with a Ronngyu on the way, all but a kill here now for the Leviathans. They've got their third.
Let that be a perfect example of why you don't give over Chernobog and Athena. If you're caught in the jungle, you're just dead. The global presence, they'll be there every single time.
Ducky picked up by the ult from adapting. It was just off cooldown, and now it's immediately right back there. A double ult from adapting Fino takes down Ducky. Who needs the Athena and Chernobog at that point when adapting just walk over and do that on repeat?
Yeah, Ducky, I mean, Thundercrash just takes so long to channel. Had it canceled twice there, I believe, and the damage output from fineokay makes use of that small bit of time, absolutely shredding through the entire HP bar. Adapting, setting the pace on this Awilix once more. A small stumble early, not enough to stop the king.
Couple of harpies stolen by NeilMah on the left-hand side, and a green buff by Oathhh. Throws out that Acorn Blast, steals it away from Ronngyu. Miss Soleil now with the kill for fineokay. And what I was going to bring up, the Des mentioned, what path do you take as Anubis? Bancroft used to be the go-to for him, but now with the way that Soul Lane is developed, and I would say even before Soul was really kind of pulling up this build, we've been seeing a lot of Pythax for this god.
Yeah, just run the standard Lifesteal Aura item. I wonder, though, do you keep going down damage, or do you want to get some of that frontline presence? Anubis, even less so than Morgan Le Fay, able to be a frontliner. Oathhh up down on the ultimate, dashes out. Puts a little bit of damage into adapting, but it's Ronngyu that's in the real trouble.
Rongyu's surrounded by 4. Tycho Drums pulls him back.
So
fineokay throws out the ultimate.
For real?
Takes down the taunts from the grave, locks them in place, and now Sheento has shown up. Ducky in danger, has the Thunder Crash to get away for now, but BennyQ does the same. He walked right in to the CC to lock him in place. Sheento with 1, up down from the sky, might just give him another one. Ducky down, double for Sheento, nearly a triple, but fineokay takes away the 3rd one, puts up a killing spree for the team.
That is back-breaking pace. And we get the pan over to Stuart. It's some trouble. Nearly knocked out by PandaCat. A good leap maintains his life. But make no mistake, it's PandaCat manhandling Stuart over in duo as well. Not a single oasis in the storm here for the Eldritch Hounds. No ultimate, though, for the Soul and low mana. He said Oathhh may have had an opportunity had PandaCat not been prepared with that ward on the left-hand side. Leviathans, I mean, they are just crushing the Hounds right now. How does Ronngyu live that long surrounded by 4 to get 2 taunts off in that fight? Post-mortem taunt, they're just grouped on his corpse, and fineokay says, awesome, River's Rebuke does not stop Death Gaze. I will simply stare at you and knock you down through the walls. Great play from the Leviathans. Get the global from Sheento. He's going to be in every fight.
Pull BennyQ right back in.
Can't move.
Just off the mark from adapting, but all the damage dealt to Benny. Still alive through that, the important part, and held on to his beads the entire way through. Probably the most important bit for BennyQ. The problem now for the Hounds is they're not winning out in their solo battles. They're not winning out in the mid battles because the 3-man rotation anywhere they go. And PandaCat all by himself is handling Stuart. Stu can't even leave his tier 1 tower safely. Even adapting has given up his efforts for the time being on one end of the map just to make sure Stuart's denied as much farm as possible.
Yeah, you wanted purple buff, you wanted auto attack a little bit faster? Tough, bud. Should have been there a little bit faster yourself. Adapting. Knocks that down, takes out Chester in one fell swoop. NeilMah not able to defend it on his own, and even had Stu been there, I don't think the 2 of them take adapting in a fight. As of now, level 10 on the Awilix, 2 levels up on Oathhh, and it's Oathhh struggling to keep pace.
Ducky already used his crash, and now it's some help from Ronngyu. It's a 3-man rotation to take down Ducky once more. Dash from Sheento gets the final blow to the kill, and this is why you can't let not just one, but both of these gods through. I mean, you said it at the beginning, they said on the desk, and we'll keep emphasizing it. It is never a 1v1 with Sheento and Ronngyu alive.
And here's all fineokay has to do there. Yo, he jumped, and then Sheento and Ronngyu said, he what? He did what? So he jumped in the lane? That's a death sentence, my guy, and it is every single time. Goes into the Tycho Drums for CC immunity. If he comes out of it, he's got a taunt. And even then, with the beads, I'm not sure he's getting much further because he hasn't even got a whole lot of CDR just yet. So would have been a good long while until that jump was available again. Stu, considering a step up, but Ronngyu plus adapting, maybe the scariest 2-man squad on the map right now. We are approaching long shot odds for the Hounds.
5K already.
I'm trying to figure out where they can fight back. I really am. I am stretching myself, J-Mac. I just don't see it right now on the map. We're going to fight back in 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe if they can slow things down, but right now, it's just about farming. It's about surviving. They're fighting for their lives out there.
For table scraps, if even that at this point. They're fighting for the crumbs of the bread from the table scraps to get any kind of farm at this point. I mean, Stu's lost his last 2 purple buffs from Adapting's rotation. He might even get a chance to back. I'm not sure if PandaCat knew he was there or if he was just saying, hey, NeilMah's nearby. Why don't we go for a fight there? Instead, it's to the Gold Fury, but now we see the Hound stepping forward. NeilMah's got River. BennyQ's already used his stance change. Oathhh up in the sky. But his only real target is towards PandaCat or the back, where Rongngyu's by himself, but Ronngyu pressed forward preemptively there, gets his ultimate, goes back to the team. And
Ducky's
now
here.
It's the Eldritch Hounds picking up the Fury. fineokay.
Oh, they're going to
get
get
away here in a moment. Reverse Rebuke will be enough to zone away some of the damage, and it will be a Fury. A fight back for the Eldritch Hounds, finally getting something that they need on the map.
Smart play from the Hounds. The Leviathans use a bit too much defensively, have Ronngyu teleport out, and then completely vacates the scene. Leviathans didn't even consider the option of the Hounds to pull the objective. And then once NeilMah throws up the River's Rebuke, it's all she wrote.
fineokay ult. Doesn't get anything this time. I think he's hoping that wrap connected. Stu is just stuck inside of jungle at this point. He's being zoned at tier 2 towers. Tier 1 was still standing. It's not really
You have
there.
to look pretty far.
I'm also looking at I see him down there. I also looked over to the bottom right and I see Gooseberries hasn't been able to be stacked yet. That's how far behind he is.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no boxing in lane. I mean, it's not as if the Eldritch Hounds have like been rotating heavily to play around Stu either. We haven't really seen Oathhh try and slow down PandaCat, but 1,500 damage right now. Has not defended himself at all. That's 4 impales, maybe. Just saying, PandaCat, please get away from me. Tough stuff, man. Stu having a rough go of it in this set, and I'm not thinking it's going to get much better anytime soon.
That last ultimate he used, I don't think hit a single player. I think he just used it for CC immunity.
He said, my beads are down.
And then he walked away at that point. Man, Stu is just not able to get anything at this point. Even when purple buffs are spawning up, he's only able to get them if like 3 other people are there to help him out. He's got Neil and Oathhh on speed dial saying, guys, purple buff's up here. Like, it's up in 20 seconds. I need you here like already like 10 seconds ago because they're going to be invading it again. There's not even a tier 1 tower for him nor Ducky. Both of those taken off the map. Half health on the one in mid for BennyQ, who's one of the only ones really holding down the front line for his team. Only a level down to Sheento, which is probably the most surprising part with how much Sheento has been active across the map. 4-1-1 for the Chernobog. Maybe more props to BennyQ for only being a level down at this point.
Yeah, 5 out of 9 affected, 7 out of 9 for the jungler adapting. Those two getting a whole lot done. And they're going to do some more. Mid tower. Yeah, we'll take that. Nobody on the Eldritch Hounds here to defend. Oathhh could global over, but don't think he gets a whole lot done in that fight either. Small win. There's some farm there. Grab a shield buff.
That's about the only farm they're going to get is when every one of the Leviathans is on the opposite side of the map at this point. Oathhh level 12. Walks up, sees PandaCat level 15, turns tail and runs back to his side of the jungle. Good note for Stu. He gets a purple buff this time. Might even be able to get a chest camp once that spawns in. And it's going to get full value from it too. I believe all 5 chests will have to spawn in with the 5k deficit that the Eldritch Hounds are in at this point. It is just fighting for anything the Eldritch Hounds can manage to get here. And this Anhur pick, I mean, it's one that you want to be able to get aggressive on, but essentially from minute 1, the Leviathans have had total control of the duo lane.
Yeah, duo's been just fine for the Levi's. Hounds had a little bit to say in mid, but that washed away after what felt like 2 minutes in-game time. Pyromancer the next target. Vision control handily to the Leviathans. There is not a single path in for the Hounds that the Leviathans would not have seen. There goes Pyro, and yeah, this could happen too, and it's happening fast.
They do have a Runic Bomb for secure if they want to use it, and they will drop it just in case.
Did you see Ducky?
I didn't even see Ducky.
He turns the corner, sees the firewall up, stops in his tracks, and just slowly, look like he's on an Xbox controller, turns away. That is, that's tough.
That was a walk and go, well, I guess I'm not needed here anymore. I'm going to just head back to lane.
Time to hit the dusty trail.
Props to the Eldritch Hounds.
finding any objective that they can that the Leviathans haven't already scrapped away from them.
We're going to give them props for getting a Gold Fury at a 15-minute fire? I guess we have to. Yeah, props,
I
Hounds.
think we will. Recognizing, okay, well, we've lost literally everything everywhere else. There's 4 on that side of the map. Let's see if we can at least get something out of it. That something might not be too much. Oh,
barely.
Only up to the sky for a moment, but now there's 3 people. He's just going to get close.
Oh, he's okay, he's okay.
Blinks away from PandaCat, but he can outrange it. Yes, he can. Ronngyu doesn't get the reach. Oathhh lives. Man, he nearly walked into the cellophane door trap.
He's a slippery little snake, though, isn't he? Gets himself out of there. Won't have blink, beads, or ult for any fights coming their way, though. I'm sure the Leviathans, privy to it, will just keep that fight up. Benny forced to use the beads.
River's Rebuke gets the shell out of Ronngyu, and the Leviathans able to break out of the Tier 2 tower for the time being. Adapting hasn't joined the rest of the team just yet. Keeping eyes on anything that spawns in the jungle and removing any obstacle farm or any avenue that the Eldritch Hounds could have as a comeback. We're still early in the game.
Very.
Levels aren't too far apart just yet. Leviathans need every bit of minion help to be able to get to this tower. Adapting gets beads off of NeilMah. Not great when your support's got to burn beads to get away from jungle. PandaCat taunted back in, but pops the supernova.
Ooh,
and
taunt.
Ronngyu goes in for a double taunt and gets both sets of beads from the Hounds.
Okay.
fineokay, throws out the wrap, throws an ultimate, realizes he gets nothing off it, and we'll have to stop it immediately.
The Levi's have stripped away every single set of beads from the Eldritch Hounds. So, Ronnie, I mean, job simple. Hit taunt. Doesn't matter who. Just hit taunt. Someone's going to die. As long as either fineokay or PandaCat are nearby. That said, I mean, that fire giant came to them so quickly that Leviathan's pretty unlikely to be looking at a Phoenix at this point. Instead, it's about collecting farm, pushing the lead even further in their favor. So 1v1 adapting takes every time. Come back here.
You knew he was there, Stu. You were staring at him in the jungle on a ward.
Could not tell
you.
ya.
Try walking forward. This is just...
He's mental boomed. My man's he's checked out. I mean, that is a 0% odds play.
You could see
he's
on
literally rolling the dice like, gravity surge down, gravity surge down. No, not down. Sorry, unlucky.
You could see through, now on Spectator, we could see the outline to the characters. You could see that Stu was staring at adapting through the cam on top of a ward.
I wish I could tell you, man.
And he just walks forward. Attempt to go over the wall, I respect it, but you gotta remember it's a Awilix. So you can't jump over a wall when your beads are down. I don't know, man. Questionable decisions have now netted the Leviathans a 9,000 and climbing gold lead.
Insult to injury, adapting got nothing for killing Stu because of the level deficit.
Oh no!
I mean that was just to hurt him. I mean
he hurt him all right.
This was not to progress my own game. This is simply to hurt you, says adapting, and it hurt me. I took collateral damage on that one.
Can't KDA save anymore. I'm going for a kill, says adapting.
Yeah, triple goose egg who?
Nah, gotta get at least a little bit of activism over towards Stu. 0-1-0 now on the Anhur. But adapting 3-1 and 5. Sheento 4-1 and 2. Adapting's gonna go back. He might just wait to see who he can grab this time. He knows beads should be down for most of the squad. NeilMah now by himself.
It's been
he
good,
got
Neil.
left by the rest of the team. And now Neil's gonna be the one accosted because of it. Sheento and adapting stun. Ronngyu shows up for the taunt kill immediately after. The Eldritch Hounds scattered to the wind. They said, good luck, NeilMah. We're heading back to base. If you make it there, cool. If you don't, we knew you well.
Yeah, well, you'll get there one way or another, either by backing or in a body bag. Benny, where'd your beads go? They're gone, but the turnaround might just be there.
fineokay, still alive, got all. He's sustaining a lot. The stun will be what does the job. Sheento pops his beads, taunt from Ronngyu onto Stu. No beads, no life, and now with adapting, rolling back in. Ducky, he's gonna have to get away from this one. It's a 1-1 trade. Bit more valuable for the Eldritch Hounds, taking down fineokay. Stu, those beads had just come up as soon as he had died.
Yeah, so he'll have it in the next one for Stu. He's got a little bit of farm on the tail end there. fineokay, perhaps a bit overzealous, but also could leverage the fact that he's got double global. Stop giving up Athena and Chernobog. Don't ever do that again. Fire Giant down to 50%. Are they the homies, though? You think they wait for Fine?
5 seconds? Yeah, they wait for Fine. I think they walked out, saw, okay, nobody's here.
Team.
They've got some wards cupped over the top.
They're fine. So, fineokay gets Fire Giant. All it cost him was his life, and then to turn around, kill to Stu immediately after. Leviathans now with 10,000 gold up and no towers left to deal with. They can head right back to base, spend up some of their gold, start working on these Phoenixes.
Doug, let me see those damage charts again. I'm just curious where things lie. All right. Looking a little bit better now.
He's up there.
He's up there. He's catching up. He's catching up to Oathhh. Oath's not exactly real high up, but it's not an exactly high damage game unless your name's adapting. Only one in the 5-digit mark. Levi's. Where do you go, boys? Phoenix, which one? Doesn't matter. Gold Fury probably on the way. How's the siege look? Good. You got a soul, okay, and a Chernobog, okay, and your taunt is going to simplify the fight, okay. What about the defense for the Eldritch Hounds? Yeah, Merlin's like best mage on defense. At least he used to be back when he was good. Could be all right.
Let's say, not good for defense now.
I mean, he might be. I don't really think he's doing a whole lot of damage.
And he is 2 levels down. It's a near full build. Sheento on the other end is already upgraded starter. Malicious Deathbringer, by the way, not even the Envenom, just going for the extra cooldowns. And with the Death Spirit, oh my god, actually, like every auto, if it's a crit, he's getting like a full second plus removed off of cooldowns. Sheento's going to be slamming that stim every like few seconds at this point.
That's right, he can auto-cancel in that second, keep things even faster. Here's a unique play available only to Chernobog because Chernobog has unique tech because he's that good. I'll split push the map on my own, and if anything happens on the other side, I'll just be there. And Ronngyu says, okay, well, if anything happens on your side, I'll just be there. It's a catch-20. Defend right because he's on his own, and it's not going to be on his own. Defend left because they're split, and they're not really split. Leviathans just taking them apart.
Got some time to play with still. 2 minutes on Fire Giant for the Leviathans. Ronngyu walks up, taunt onto Stu, holds onto his beads because he does trust NeilMah to get those shields out to him, but Phoenix is taking about half its health. Sheento going to split push on right. Ronngyu keeping that channel ready.
Just in case
he needs to help out, but he doesn't. Sheento split pushed all by himself. Now he can just waltz over to the mid lane and join adapting to start working on the next Phoenix. Can even walk right through the door. Oathhh tried to throw an acorn, took 2 in hands and said, that's about enough for me. As the Leviathans go right back to the left side Phoenix. PandaCat's got some good damage. And a good follow-up onto Stu, but Stu's got some strong life steal to stay alive.
He does. PandaCat will resustain it pretty quickly, too. And the Leviathans can keep their pressure there. Sheento, now with adapting, says, you know, right was pretty easy. Let's see if we can make it happen here in mid. I mean, it's slow rolling, but there's so much time left on the power play.
There's a full minute for Leviathans. Ducky jumps in on top of Sheento. Oathhh could make the rotation over, but he goes down on the left-hand side instead. Has to use the beads, backs away, jump from Stu, and a River's Rebuke out of Neil. Ducky tries to keep this fight going by taunting a couple back in, but the damage is all going right back to him. Ronngyu can head back to base because guess what? Hasn't used ultimate. He'll be back alive and full HP.
Yeah, we'll see. And he's back. PandaCat will deliver his support back to the duo side of the map, and the Eldritch Hounds will have to do it all over again.
Beads away from Stuart. BennyQ maintains his. Ronngyu takes about 40% of his health. PandaCat gonna sustain
Waves
back
on right.
up. But Fire Giant, or Fire Waves, I should say, now pushing in. Oathhh is gonna be occupied towards the middle and right side of the map. Doesn't have his ultimate. Only BennyQ about to get his transform back. Ronngyu goes in with another taunt, gets another set of beads. This time off Benny, jump in by Stu. Rongyu's low, but Rongyu's still alive. It's Stuart down, crashed in by Ducky, but now it's adapting, waltzing right in. Sheento gets the kill. The Leviathans get left Phoenix, but health bar's a bit too low to stick around.
I cannot believe Ronngyu dash taunts and Sheento says, you're too far, it's okay, I'll ult, and just goes into the backline with them. Dashes into a Riptide, doesn't even get into the wall, pulled back into the team, and Sheento says, well, guess I'm dead, I'll deal damage on the way out, and lives anyway. If that is not an indicator of how far behind the Eldritch Hounds truly are, I just could not tell you. Left and right, Phoenix taken away. Both side lanes going to have Fireman and Waves passively winning out on pressure. Leviathans done so much with their Fire Giant power play that I think it's long shot odds we see the Hounds even consider stepping out of base here to defend. I didn't even realize the charts were as poor as they are. Put a Runic Bomb in pocket. Gonna make the middle Phoenix a little bit easier to take down. We won't need it on the Fire Giant itself. Only thing the Leviathans are suffering from is that they have won out so quickly that this Fire Giant, I believe 3rd Fire Giant of the game now, might just not be enhanced for another 5 minutes. They'll have to work a little bit harder to knock down that mid bird. Boo-hoo.
I think the downside right now is that they've got to kill the Titan twice because they actually went back, capped the beacon, released the Titan. Though their benefit, it is down mid exactly where they want to go for that last Phoenix. Adapting, standing by to one side, fineokay to the other. It's a pincer maneuver by the Leviathans, seeing who they can grab. Ducky wrapped up, fineokay dealing damage. Pillar catches him out for the time. fineokay might just go down here, but Adapting's already gotten one of his own. It's now Ducky and fineokay both down. Solo laners for the two teams out for about 45 seconds.
Yeah, Fine's having a little too much fun. Been playing on solo agent style his entire game. At least trades out the solo laner with the help of Adapting. So 4v4, but the 4 of the Levi's ahead and with fire.
No beads for the two carries of the Hounds. One dash taunt from Ronngyu could spell disaster. And Sheento's just peppering damage over the wall at Oathhh. Taunt on to NeilMah, gets through the Riptide. Does maintain his beads. Now the duo has their beads back up. The Titan could be the next threat. 4 versus 4. Health bars nice for both teams. Mana a bit low for PandaCat. The Leviathans start their push in. NeilMah taunts it back. Beads and River's Rebuke in response. And Sheento to the sky. Just crash right back down into the middle of the base, but will double dash back out. The Titan of the Leviathans is there to match with him. It's now 5 versus 4. Stuart is low. Stuart's back inside of the fountain. The Titan at half HP as Ronngyu crashes in as the sacrificial lamb for the team because Ducky is back alive. And Hounds march forward.
Hounds on the chase. Oathhh can't connect the stun, takes too much damage as PandaCat stands his ground. ADCs of the Leviathans putting in a whole lot of work. Ultimate for Pele. Panda, you could have just left, man.
Uses beads, uses Aegis. Ducky's got cooldown. Sheento, he's firing crits into NeilMah soon a lot, and Adapting has joined back in. They might just take the 2v5. Adapting jumps over the stun, gets the damage, gets the kill onto Oathhh, and Sheento, one auto after another, uses the Aegis to live, and now fineokay is back. BennyQ takes down one, but fineokay answers in. It's a double kill for Adapting. Go ahead and make it 3 if they can find Ducky. Jump over the wall is good. Raijin slows him down, but Adapting doesn't care about this minuscule damage. He'll just keep going right back at Ducky.
A little.
One more time. Never mind. Ducky's got a lot more damage than he accounted for. As fineokay clears the wave.
That is an insane sequence of events, J-Mac. The Eldritch Hounds gifted a few in the fight back. Leviathans overstay, but realize even should they fall, what will the Eldritch Hounds get? Whole lot of nothing. Left side Bird's back up. That'll help out a bit, but until all 3 Phoenixes are back up, your Titan will not be regenerating. How many towers is that? 4 towers still standing for the Leviathans. Hounds don't even get the Fury. How much of this is impact gold? We're 6 slotted on everybody. Relics still need some upgrades, maybe some power pots here or there for the Leviathans, so they got a little bit more strength to gather. I wonder. I can see the Leviathans having a bit of fun here. Maybe they go for a little backdoor attempt. It's one of the strengths of Anubis. One of the strengths of all these globals, too.
Instantly have 3 people, 2 people there, as long as...
Yeah, Sheento will just let you know where everybody is. He's a UAV.
Sheento will know. If somebody's there on the Eldritch Hounds, then you got 3 people.
That's right.
There's the condition for Sheento to go there, and he's really the bulk of the damage. fineokay does have a bit in his kit from the build. For the time being, though, Leviathans will slow down, maybe forced to do so, because they lost most of their team in that last little push, so some fight back from the Hounds at least nets them a bit of extra time on this map. Pyromancer's already back in. Last time, Leviathans, actually I think it was 2 fires ago, Leviathans took Pyromancer, the beeline immediately to Fire Giant, not there this time, not for another minute. So Leviathans, man, can just sit here and spin their wheels a little bit longer, wait for that enhanced Fire Giant to spawn back in, and then march it right down.
Beads down on Benny for 40 seconds, along with his Aegis. Beads down on Ducky, too. So this 2-man combo, this 2-man death ball, make it 3 with PandaCat now, on the right-hand side of the map, pose a massive threat to the Eldritch Hounds. Hounds get a difficult decision. Do we want to give up EFG, or do we take a fight in neutral territory? Mid-Phoenix, clear out 1 or so more waves. He'll have that one back and ready. Right side Phoenix still a ways off from respawning. I don't know. Base defense just has not looked great for the Eldritch Hounds, but some power spikes have been hit. Benny now at full build. And he has the damage behind him that the Leviathans need to start showing a little bit of respect, but I'm thinking maybe a neutral territory fight. Best odds for the Hounds.
Taunt on Benny, holds his beads, wisely so, but loses half his health because of it. I'm going to take bid as Ducky Thunder crashes in. Raijin doesn't actually proc that time. Oh, by the way, Sheento decided I'm going to split push, and no one was there to be able to stop him. So an objective for the Leviathans. Sheento might not even need to be there for this Fire Giant. PandaCat's got plenty of in-hand damage. It'll take a little bit longer. Matter of fact, somebody's just going to have to stop Sheento, but problem is, now you've rotated somebody over. Now you're down a person for the fight. Beads from Sheento. That's an aggressive beads to go back in.
Come here.
Sheento can just go over to the right side of the fight towards NeilMah. A couple of in-hands will get the job done for the mid laner. Ducky, surrounded by two, goes down to adapting. Taunt onto Stuart, gets both relics and all of his health. Double kill for Sheento. And all that started at the Fire Giant that didn't even go down. The Leviathans, 5 strong, minus Rongyu's lower health, will be able to drop this right side. Phoenix walk in to a 2 versus 5. Does Benny have the damage to stop this one? Well, not when the Titan's at a quarter HP and the Leviathans can march right in. fineokay gonna try and get a kill on Benny, adapting, solos out Oathhh. The Leviathans can't get the last kill, but they can take the set.
Props to PandaCat. Some sportsmanship there. Says, hey guys, please stop chasing Benny. Well, I'm just going to end the game. Not a whole lot of good to say about the Hounds there in Game 3. A lot of good to say about the Leviathans. They owned all of it, except for the first 30 seconds.
I think it's pretty good sum, more than anything. I mean, adapting just completely controlled the pacing of this game.
Except for the first 30 seconds.
First 30 seconds was not great.
That was awesome for
That
the
was
Hounds.
good for the Hounds. That was a good 2v2 for them. But then as soon as adapting rotates back and says, all right, I died, but you're still fighting,
Yep.
gets a kill for himself, and that flips that momentum back in the Leviathan's favor.
I mean, this one, you could really just boil it down to draft diff. Athena plus Chernobog is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Every single team fight throughout the early post-level 5 was a numbers advantage for the Leviathans. Just one of those 2 picks might be enough to sway an entire draft. Get both, good luck winning.
I mean, when you're getting 2 of the top, 3 or 4 gods in the game on the same team like that, it's a winning formula. For the Atlantis Leviathans, they get the 3-0 sweep over the Eldritch Hounds. That's it for me and Myth over here on the cast. We'll throw it back to Charlie and Inbound on the desk.
And that's right. I mean, the caster said a mouthful there, but adapting and Sheento were consistent pillars of just farm, gold, kills, all of that throughout the entirety of this set. The draft diff, I think, has to be brought into question. It wasn't as if there was just nothing on the side of the Eldritch Hounds. They did get some pretty strong gods in the top 3, but I tend to agree with Myth. Athena and Chernobog, that just lets you have too much freedom across the map, and because of that, the Eldritch Hounds, they were constantly going back and forth trying to track down Sheento. When you send someone over, he just goes back with his team. Seemed too difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and then when you get to that late game, double global, you try to commit to the Anubis, the Athena ult's coming down on top also, Chernobog rotating in also. And actually in that last team fight, the idea of the comp, I think, finally came to fruition for well, it's not like it didn't come to fruition the previous 30 minutes, but at the last fight, Chernobog's just free to split push and nobody can stop him.
Yep.
And then when he ults in, Athena ult just lands on top of him, and then he's got 50% mitigation from his ult and the Athena ult, and you can't trade into him, you can't run away from him because you're slowed and he's got movement speed. And they just got run down and killed. This was just, I mean, 100% draft diff. There was way too much value on the Levi side of things. Like you said, Hounds got some picks, but the value that the Levi's got was just way more.
Yeah, and even when Oathhh backs to stop Sheento, he's not winning that 1v1. Sheento has so much gold, so much crit chance online. It is very difficult to fight into a 6-slotted Chernobog. This was the fight you were talking about. Who wants to mess with this guy? I mean, he flies in, he gets the fail not proc, he has the mitigations, and just surges forward. Stu tries his best to be able to DPS, but yeah, I think it was pretty clear to see at the end of that one just how difficult it would be to deal with Sheento, to deal with Adapt, and to deal with Ronngyu all together as a unit. They just had way too much DPS. And of course, the Eldritch Hounds, I mean, if you want to talk about highlights, they held on a lot. I mean, there was a lot when they were underneath their own fountain where they just you felt like the game should have ended a bit earlier, but their defense was solid. BennyQ on the Merlin was constantly pushing these waves out, but you can only defend for so long.
Yeah, I think a little highlight for Benny there, able to clear out waves, play the defensive game well. Seems like the Levi's were playing with their food a little bit. They could have played it a little bit better, played it a little bit cleaner, backed a little bit earlier, or played for objectives, but they wanted to just take a bunch of fights. It seemed like from that minute and a half, it seems like it was just all Levi's.
Well, if you want to talk about the Levi's, you can't not talk about the duo lane. PandaCat standing by for the interview.
That's right. I've got PandaCat from the Leviathans here. First off, congrats on your win here up against the Eldritch Hounds. Now that your team's getting kind of close to the end of the phase, getting ramped up, ready to get kind of towards this playoff phase, how does the team kind of feel moving to the back half of the phase?
I'd say we're very confident. Last week was rough. Losing to the Dragons kind of felt like we weren't in control of any of our games, and it was maybe a little bit of a hit to our egos and overall attitudes. But looking back at it, we improved a lot of our gaming aspects from that set, and we learned a lot. So I think we're very confident moving into the end of the phase.
And now that you've kind of had some time to mesh with the team, how are you feeling with Ronngyu over in the duo lane? How's that synergy kind of going on with the two of you?
I mean, it's like I'm in a Zumba class, and he's the instructor. We're just ooh. He's very good. We've meshed a lot. I feel like Ronnie and I are on the same page. Probably I have the same feeling I've had, when I played with Mike, and that was years of experience. So that should speak to the comfortability that I have with Ronngyu as my support. And I'm ready to move on into Worlds with him and just dominate. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that you guys were already in the group before the set even started. You and Sheento kind of jamming out the computer by yourselves, having a little bit of a fun time there. So now that you got this big win, anything that maybe the team's looking to improve on going to the last couple of matchups of the phase?
You said big win? This was a big win?
Win that every team needs.
You call it a win. I'll take any win I can get. Wait, can you repeat the question? My mind's wandering right now.
How's it feel going into last couple of weeks now with the win under your belt? Only a couple more to go.
It's good. It feels great, obviously. We're just going to focus up for the next couple sets, prepare for the teams accordingly, and, hopefully come out on top.
We'll let you go back to your Zumba class with Ronngyu, jam out session with the squad. Congrats on the win, PandaCat. We'll throw it back over to the desk.
There was that music in his head. That's why he couldn't hear the question. He was too busy jamming. PandaCat, always confident, rightfully so. I mean, they've got the record to back it up. Let's take a look at the schedule and see all that we have came through so far this week. Wrapping it up, we already saw Camelot Kings come out with the 3-0 the Glads, Styx Ferryman 3-1 the Hounds. But then the Camelot Kings immediately go back and get 3-1 by the Jade Dragons. Styx Ferryman picking up their second win with a 3-2 over the Oni Warriors. And the Highland Ravens this morning, 3-0 the Gilded Gladiators, and another 3-0 for the Atlantis Leviathans. Let's take a look and see what that did to the standings, see how funky everything looks. Look at that. Not much has changed because the Hounds were still there in fourth, and the Atlantis Leviathans not quite able to pass up against the Styx Ferryman, but a win puts them in that direction, right? If that's your plan going in for first seed, this was a very important win for the Atlantis Leviathans, so I can see why J-Mac called it a big win.
Big win indeed. Maybe not as big as Panda would want it to be. Panda didn't think it was that big of a win, but now if they get this win, they only need to win their next two and the Ferrymen only need to lose one of their next two. Then we have a little bit of a tiebreaker happening there. I do think it's in favor of the Ferrymen. So this is their only way to have a possibility going for first is if they win out, so they need all the wins they could get. But Levi's looking great. They've got to be confident heading into the last couple games of the year or of the phase, but
I mean, they're already talking about Worlds. You heard PandaCat. He said, I'm ready to dance into Worlds with my duo partners. So if that's your case, we'll have to take a look at next week's schedule to see what we have in store. Take a look right from the start. Leviathans will be coming back versus the Gilded Gladiators, followed then by the Highland Ravens and the Eldritch Hounds. Quickly on Saturday, sticking off the morning with the Camelot Kings versus the Styx Ferryman. That's going to be a banger set.
Ooh.
And then right after that, the Oni Warriors versus the Jade Dragons. Definitely don't want to miss Saturday. Eldritch Hounds done there. Starting out with Gilded Gladiators on Sunday morning, a week from today. And then kicking off our week, the Highland Ravens against the Atlantis Leviathans. I mean, Bobby, which set are you most excited for? Can you even pick one?
I can. The one that I'm most excited for is the Saturday evening game, that Warriors Jade Dragons. I want to see, are the Jade Dragons for real? We've seen them only in 2 sets now since they picked up Coast. How are they going to look against one of those top teams? Other than the Levi's, which is also a top team, but they beat them, but it was their first set, so it doesn't really count all too much. So I want to see if they have that consistency against a team like the Warriors.
Well, I can see that one as well. I'm not sure. That's Saturday. If I'm making sure to set my alarm, I'm gonna be here for all of them. Turns out I work here, but if how are you at home? Definitely cannot miss Saturday. There's been a lot of action-packed SMITE so far today. Only 3 O's. It feels like we were robbed a little bit, but you know what? When the teams are looking that good, sometimes the matchups just go. But that is all we have time for today. That is all the SPL sets, but there will be some more action coming later. Bobby, thank you so much for joining me on the desk. On behalf of myself, everyone else here at production, no need to name their names. They know they're loved. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good day.